Today we have a real treat for you. It is the ultimate fuzz guru from Dominion Electric. It is, of course, Aaron. And my co-host today, as ever,
John Mulholland, Space Wolf FX.
Hello, guys. We almost missed the cast. You'll never guess. We were just talking pre-show, and we blatantly nearly missed it. If John hadn't spotted the time, we'd probably still be off going into probably what we should be talking on the stream.
Oh yeah.
How is everyone?
Great. How are you guys?
We got Grace Fandango in straight away.
Oh yeah. Yep.
First in. Hello, mate. I'm sure we'll have Wadey on his way home at some point as well. Although,
yes.
Is it the Easter holidays there for you guys? Or
no. That's our next podcast.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, 2 weeks from now. It's a late Easter this year.
Dan Mincher. Hello, mate. How's it going? Dave Barry. Hello, Dave. Hopefully you got your pedal, mate. My wife was in Ireland. She actually posted the giveaway pedal finally.
Yep. John Pardo. Good evening there.
Hello, John. And I finally got his package to him. Good.
Awesome.
It took me time. You know, like posting anything, it takes me forever. I've been threatening to send you that camera for about 6 months.
Oh, I know. I'm looking forward to it
it's
now.
So bad. Yeah. Oh, good to see you all. Hello, Mike. Speaking about building spitty and amazing fuzzers, Mike's built quite a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what? I'm building a harmonic percolator this week. I've been saying I'm going to do it.
Awesome.
It's like our third episode. I've been saying I'm going to build that since. So I built a damn meathead last week, and I love it. I've never built one, so I'm pinning it down. I'm looking for something spitty, funnily enough, for a customer who wants a spitty fuzz. No one quite as famous as you're building for, mate, but something that's spitty. And the problem is, I hate that sound.
The problem with spitty fuzz, man, is like, to me, there's so many different characteristics of like spitty fuzz. Like, I think everybody thinks of fuzz face, like drop the bias voltage down and just make it spitty that way. And yeah, absolutely, that is one
way, yeah.
But like, when you really start like listening close to it, like I want it to sound almost like an old Tweed Champ or something like that, that's like caving in on itself and like spitting back that way. And that's completely different than the fuzz face that's kind of like blurting out a little bit.
It's splatting,
versus like a fuzz factory that gets kind of like Velcro. If it sounds glitchy in any way, I don't like it.
Yeah,
like exactly. that sort of high end, like it almost sounds digital glitchy sound. To me, that's not for me. But if it's got this kind of like crackly raspiness thing that's glitching out, that's different. It's what we were talking about earlier. Like, I've spent forever now messing with different circuits trying to find like the right spitty breakup. Like it's such a rabbit hole.
Tried a combination with a CMOS tube sound fuzz type circuit, like Craig Anderson's circuit and the fuzz face circuit?
No, I should. Man,
you should, because I think that might be what you're looking for, because I designed a circuit based off of that using a fuzz face as your input stage, and then driving that into the tube sound fuzz with a few modifications to like attenuate it for everything, and you can dial that into like what you're talking about. It's still a work in progress, because there's some aspects where like there's just things where you have to move the knobs too much to get certain sounds. I'd like to like narrow it down so I'm not having to dial everything around on the controls that I set up on it. But yeah, it was.
I found that the like Univox, not Univox Super Fuzz, Univox Square Wave, which is kind of like a fuzz face, but the second transistor is a JFET.
Oh wow, yeah.
Oh cool.
It like kind of got close, but it's almost sounded too distortion pedal square wavy. So again, it's one of those things like you try it and you're like, oh man, this is like kind of close, but kind of not at the same time. And so do I like keep going down this path and see if I can kind of make it do what I want it to do, which is what I do. And then I end up getting to a point where I'm like, no, okay, like we're going to go back to the drawing board and like start over again with something completely different.
What I really like about using that circuit idea that I just threw out at you is that I was able to take a really low gain volume wise circuit that was doing the sound that I wanted and then bring it back into a unity gain that was usable with everything else.
Yeah, cool.
And it also has the added effect of I was able to add a fuzz face at almost any point in the signal chain and still be able to get cleanup. It was like it did some weird stuff.
To me, it's like so important. I start playing with so many different circuits that like have something on the input stage, and I'm constantly like removing pieces. Like I'm taking like, I don't know, Mark I tone bender and being like, what happens if I remove that first transistor completely and go straight into the base of the second transistor, like to try and get back some of that interaction that you would normally get from the fuzz face because of that sort of impedance relationship that you get. I'm constantly trying to see if I can like find pedals and like create that sort of interaction. Again, I'm a tinkerer, man. I don't.
Me too. That's what makes it fun. I can't stop. It's not like I have a choice. I mean, I'm going to be building pedals whether or not anybody's playing them or buying them anyway.
You should see the mess of like, I'm super bad for things like resistor color codes, and like there's certain ones that I've seen enough times that I'm like, okay, that's 100K or whatever. But like, it's too bad I'm not in my workshop in the basement because I'd show you. But like, I have like a breadboard set up with like little baskets where I have like wires and stuff. And I swear I have this like graveyard of like resistors that I've tried and been like, oh, I got to change that resistor. And so I pull it and I throw it into the graveyard, and then I go to my drawers and pull a new one out. And then it's like every time I have to go back to like whatever 3K3 or something like that, I'm like, oh, there's for sure one in that bin, but like I, for the life of me, can't remember what the color code is. So I'll just grab a new one. And it's disastrous.
I have a routine. If I've took it out the drawer and it's not used, it's dead. It never goes back in.
Oh no!
Even expensive ones, I don't care. It's too much. It hurts my head. I'm out the corner of my eye. I'm looking over there, and I've got about 4 piles of unsorted resistors that I've probably seen maybe 100K resistors and bought them like a big batch. But now I don't know which batch is which, so I'm gonna have to go through and I can't. I've been putting it off for days.
I used to buy, like when I was making like fuzz faces, like round ones. Oh man, I was buying like whatever new old stock Allen Bradley, like carbon comp in batches of 300 or something like that, and sitting down with the meter,
measuring them all,
every single one.
Yeah,
and not only just looking for hundreds, like separating those ones out, but almost saying like. These ones are dead on 100. These ones are kind of like in the 90 range. These are in the 110 range, and like splitting them so that when I'm making builds and I'm trying to make like informed choices, I would be able to go. My partner would laugh at me because what I used to do is I used to say, "Ooh, I need like a 92K is gonna like be perfect." And I'd be sitting there like reaching into the basket and individually measuring them, and every time it wasn't what I wanted, I'd throw it back in the basket. She'd be like, what are you doing? You're probably already the same one out like times over. I'm not a model of efficiency, I tell you that much.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I love it.
The thing is, I don't build the same pedal over and over again either, so it's just adds to another layer of confusion, especially for YouTube. Oh yeah, I love it.
It must be refreshing to just be able to kind of. When you're building, Joe, do you have like, I guess you do everything, but like, are you normally working for the customer who wants something? So you're building with them in mind, or is it all you where you're like, I feel like doing this?
I almost never take a custom order because I get obsessive really easy. So anything I get as a hobby becomes like I eat, breathe, live that thing. So if I get a custom order, it starts taking over my life. I'm not like my wife will get rather upset with the fact that 50% of my brain's thinking about that all the time. So at the minute, I'm building a like a dual drive pedal, a fuzz drive for bass for Joe from the Gig Rig, who does the Gig Rig live stream. I met him at Birmingham Guitar Show. He's just like an amazing fella, and I give him a pedal. He loved it, and we're going to do something custom, but it's weighing on me, you know. So I try and stay away from that. I just go today. I'm going to build I don't know. Open up Google, search for the schematic. Today I'm building this. Just build it.
That's so refreshing, man. I did like back when I was, 2000 2020, like pandemic era, when I was doing builds, like there was a while there where it was like 100% custom stuff and like wacky stuff, right? Like guys saying like, I have this idea for like this. And at the time it was kind of like, I took everything like a personal challenge, like, oh yeah, okay, I could do that. And man, the amount of time I must have spent like coming up with how I'm going to try and do what Buddy asked for, and then find a way to paint it. And then like, you know, I'm trying to paint it like in my garage or something like that. So I've got painter's tape and I've got all sorts of stuff rigged up. And then the amount of times that I would try something and you'd look at it and be like, nah, that didn't like turn out like I saw in my head. And I had this giant bucket of like paint thinner and like just dump the metal in the bucket and then like strip it and then pull it back out and start again. And I laugh at everybody at the like, everybody shares the like Axis face thing that I did. And what people don't see, man, is pedal. That pedal, I think I probably started and stopped it. Like it had to have been a dozen times. Like, and sometimes it would be like 6 layers of paint, like on top of each other, like forming out shapes and whatnot. And I'd get all the way to the point where I'd say like, ooh, I just feel like I want to add this like one little thing. And then I would go to add it and basically screw it up and be like, man, like I've gotten like all the way to the, you know, you're waiting for the paint to dry, you're waiting to do all it, and then, oh no, I'm going to start again. Like, I think I restarted, like I said, like 12 times.
That's my favorite looking.
When I was painting on the, like all the lettering, because like everything's painted, right? The smile, like.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. And like when I was painting all that stuff on, which was like the final step, I was so nervous because I was kind of like, oh man, like Aaron, do not mess this up, because like I basically told myself if I messed it up, there was no way I was starting again to have gotten all the way to that end point. Like I said, like, people message me all the time, like, oh, you want to whip another one of those up for me? And I'm like,
that's the best looking pedal available in the world, I think. Out of every pedal I've ever seen, that is the single best looking one. You'll probably be able to tell by it. It's on the thumbnail.
Good, man.
Oh, mate.
It came out so good. Like, I had the idea, and I had sketches and like all sorts of stuff of like what's too far and what's not enough, and what are the ideas and how do I incorporate. And again, like I'm doing this like with rattle can spray paint and stuff, like in my garage.
I know what you mean,
like, it's not
I'm still there, mate.
Studio, right? Like, so yeah, I'm super proud of that when it came out.
I've just finished filming a video on painting pedals. I was like, everyone keeps asking for it. How'd you add decals? How'd you paint them? Nitrocellulose. And I thought, you know what? I could probably make a 15-minute video. So far, I'm up to like 45 minutes. There's so much to get in. And I haven't even added like the intro, the outro, anything like that. No talking head bits have been added yet. It's just the spray painting and adding the decal. I was like,
I tell you, man,
the hell do
I started for the longest time like doing like hammer paint and stuff. I found it was easier to control if I like sponge painted it.
Oh, really?
So I'd mix my own tin from like a can, and then I would cut a sponge into like a little cube, and then I'd go in and learn to basically like load the sponge to a certain amount, and then we'd go through and like sponge paint it, because you could control like how much hammer you were getting better than just randomly rattle canning it
with an aerosol, man. Totally. Especially if you have any kind of wind or humidity conditions going south on you.
It changes everything, right? Humidity.
I'm struggling with that right now. Funnily enough, I've just finished this, so I finally found this color. I've been looking for this for like ever.
Oh, nice.
It's really hard to get.
Yeah,
but the hammer is like, for lack of a better word, shit. I mean,
it's so hard, man.
Yeah, I mean,
my piece of advice for guys trying to hammer is like, you have to decide whether you need a base coat or not. Because like, to me, what I don't like is when you're hammering, if it starts pitting and you see the metal bare underneath and it just looks like a whole bunch of little dots, like you have to plan ahead.
Yeah, you got to prime it.
Yeah. And to
I
me,
normally
like,
put 2 coats to try and get over that, and it just looks flat.
To me, my advice is always go as thin, like with the hammer, as you possibly can. Most guys will lay it on super thick because it'll then hammer, but to me, like, there's a balance. I've gotten this close to basically shooting a series of videos on like, hell with it. Here's how I like prime an enclosure. Here's how I hammer paint it. Here's how I like relic it, because like the relicing that I found, like I experimented 100 times over with different ways, and I found a way that it was kind of repeatable and worked and looked kind of authentic and cool. I've come really close to just being like, you know what would be the coolest thing to do would be to just document it and post it on YouTube and be like, here guys, like for all the guys that send me questions asking how do I do this, how do I do that, like,
and yeah,
here's
and
the
it's
secret. And if
always
anything, it
out
kind of
there.
makes you extra cool for just sharing, like open sourcing it.
I've just filmed the exact same thing. So even like the tinted lacquers for aging,
you use
everything.
like little mix tints.
No, I'm a heathen, and it's all from a spray can. So I use like neck tint lacquer, tobacco neck tint.
Yeah.
And then sand it back. And
I
cheated
because
like, I picked Sonic Blue, which is a really easy color to age. I should have picked something a bit challenging, but nah.
I used to get like base like silver hammer paint, like in the gallons, and I used to buy like paint tints that came in like little vials.
Yep.
So I'd be able to then turn around
those.
and put a little mix container together and put like green, and then start mixing until I got the consistency of like the green that I wanted. But like sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. Like if you look at somebody like Sasha Vontek has like a pink one that I made for him, but like the pink is red tint.
Okay.
Because the red like dilutes into pink in the silver, and like again, it's one of those things of like you have to just
go
experiment and find out what works and what doesn't, because like 9 times out of 10, like what you have up here is not going to translate.
I searched for that for the zonk color for like the longest time, and I like years. I'm pretty sure you can get it over in the US just in a rattle can, can't you? But
I don't know. I mean, like,
you can.
Can you
You can walk down to
the
local hardware store, and it's there on the shelf.
There's none here. I found a place
in a hammer tone like that. Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, what's the name? Belton or something. The name is just a German brand anyway, and their blue comes out like that. I must have bought like 50 different types trying to get it, and some of them you buy the paint, the color's good, but the actual hammering effect isn't really pronounced. They're a bit crap. And of course, I'm doing it all from a spray paint sort of.
It's funny too though, because like I kind of hit a point where I don't know, I must have had a dozen or more like original vintage fuzz faces, and like you get to the point where you see enough of them that you kind of realize that they were just like next.
Yep.
Right. And like you get some where they're super hammered, you get some where the paint looks flat, you get some, and I hit a point where I just basically embraced the vintageness, where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it like they did. If it's super hammered, it's awesome. If it's not hammered, like
what would Leo Fender do?
Yeah. Well, and a lot of my restoration work, that's one of the things that's a challenge. If you make your restorations and your repairs too obvious, and they don't look proper, then it ruins the entire aesthetic of a vintage instrument. Yeah. And, you can make it too clean, and
we've got some comments coming in. Uncle Dan's vinyl, great color. Cheers, mate. Much appreciated. Craze Fandango. He loves the fact that I have off-center foot switches. I'm sure he's upset about this one being centered. Matte and paint. I've never heard of matte and paint. Is any of you guys matte? No, this is from Belton.
No, I've never heard of that.
I need to check them out. And then Dave Barry. We need to get you sorted out to add some to do the comments and stuff, John, because I'm terrible at this.
I am too. I get into the conversation and I forget to look over at the comment board.
So Dave Barry said the easiest way to relic is to purchase paint from what paint form deals? Like
deals. It must be like a clearance store.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like a Big Lots in the US or something like that.
Yeah. So it's hard. I tell you what, just go to your nearest warship. They have nothing but out-of-date paint on there. And
just come check out the back side of my shop over here, where my dad's been storing paint for 80 years. There's probably like 60-year-old cans of paint back in here.
And Justin Drawbridge says he's got that blue and he sprays it super thin, which is also cool. I tell you what, he does these Italian leather finishes on his pedals. Oh my god!
Oh yeah, the collaboration that he was doing with.
Oh, I should have brought it upstairs. Like, man, just wait and see. I did a collaboration fuzz face with Curtis from Mason Effects.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, so good.
Guys, did I show it to you, Joe?
No, but his fabric finishes and stuff.
Dude, the one that we did is just wait till you see it. It's insane.
Yeah,
like it's when I opened the box, like he was like, oh, I did the wrapping and the relicing or whatever, and I was like, I'm pretty sure I can like hand paint all the like lettering and everything on it. I was like, I'm confident that I can get it done, and then I'll build the circuit inside and make the pedal. And when he sent it to me and I opened the box, I was like, I need to keep this. Like, this is so awesome. Like, I was like, dude, I can't tell you how much you knocked this out of the park. Like, this is so killer. I've had it for like a year now. We haven't like been able to get our ducks in a row to like figure out how we're gonna charity auction it or something. It is just wait, man. It is unbelievable.
Oh wow! I can't wait to see that.
I love it when you do that. You build a pedal and you think I should
Axis space, like it's up there. It's crazy amazing.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I'm looking forward to that one then. Yeah, I did something similar for well, not similar in form, but where I built a pedal and wanted to keep it for pedalboard. I did like a bright yellow fuzz face, and it you know, when I finished there, I was just thinking I could keep this one. This one would go well with my collection, you know. Oh man.
I think you ended up giving that one to Chris, though, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But the thing is that the picture of it was a girl holding a banana because that's what he asked. Well, he asked for a banana, didn't he? I just went one step further, but I give it a pedal porn tattoo as well. So I got to give him it. I actually had a guy who I'm building a fuzz face for send me a 90s fuzz face, like an old beat up one. He's like, I don't need this now because you're building me a new one, which is insane. I don't want to mention his name in case he doesn't want to be spoken out loud. But yeah, I couldn't believe it. I'm getting people sending me stuff now, like unbelievable stuff.
It's the time, man.
Amazing.
Yeah,
I
it's mad.
like. I would have never thought.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever had an Etch-a-Sketchy? No, so it's a modulation pedal where it works like an Etch-a-Sketch, and you just make your own. It's mad.
People are wild, man. Like,
so we've got him coming on the show soon, and that's I don't even want to look at. Normally, I take a pedal and I'll open the back before I even plug it in. I didn't even take the back off that one. I was like,
you know what's going to be inside of there.
I won't be able to understand it.
You're going to be like, oh, those little squares and rectangles and a couple of circles here and there.
Well, I've modded a few of them lately. Them SMD whatever, like the new Behringer fuzz and stuff. Oh god, that's not a fun time.
I know guys that like make SMD like pedals, and like my assumption is always that they get them like factory populated. But I know a couple guys that are like, oh no, like I just hand solder it myself, whatever. And I'm like, oh my god, like how can you sit there with like they've got the like heated tweezers and like the flux, and so they have to like stick it in the flux so it sticks on the board, and then like
some guys will throw it into a kiln too. Like they'll put everything down. It's got solder paste already applied to it, and then they just put it in a kiln.
I've been looking really heavy at like I get really obsessive about like cleaning the boards. With like isopropyl alcohol and stuff. Like, I mean, I'm sitting there with like a toothbrush or something cleaning it, but I've seen some guys who've bought these like, I don't know, they're like charged buckets or something like that, and they stick the board pot in, and then it cleans the whole thing. And
ultrasonic. I've got an
ultrasonic.
I'm
ready to try one of those.
Oh yeah, they're cheap too. You don't have to invest
Stu from Tate Effects has got one of them, I think. But I think he went back to cleaning them by hand. See, really? he's an insane perfectionist, and I don't think it cleaned it as much as some of the YouTube videos show, if you know what I mean. And don't quote me on that.
Depends on what solution you use too. There's different solutions you put in the bath of an ultrasonic cleaner that'll give you different results depending on what you're going for. And there's certain things you never want to stick in an ultrasonic. Yeah, you never want to stick certain things in ultrasonic because it'll destroy them.
What, like an NKT275?
Yeah, you don't want to stick a fragile vintage transistor in there. You're not going to have a vintage transistor that works anymore.
I've got a new line on one. So a guy who watches this show, funnily enough, sent me an email yesterday or a message with a link in saying, here's one of them Pi radios that you reclaimed the NKT275 from for sale on eBay for like 100 quid. And I went on there, and lo and behold, the pictures of the inside show a couple of NKT 677s and a 275. So I bought that without thinking. So thank you to everyone who sends messages in of kit that you should buy. I had one guy sent me a Harrier jump jet radio. Like, it's just insane. Like, can you make a fuzz out of this? Well, I'll definitely try. Yeah. Do you build in any weird enclosures now that because you've kind of streamlined everything now, haven't you? It's all like.
I wouldn't say that I ever did anything super weird. I've had like ideas every now and then for something cool. Like I said, when I was doing round shells for a while, I at one point got really heavy down the like, how do we customize the round shells? So like you'll see some out there with like the Axis face. You'll see the like Friday the 13th, like Jason mask one that I did for Halloween. I did like one with like Canadian maple leaves and stuff. I started doing a whole lot of like custom round ones. But then it started getting crazy. Like at one point I had like, I think like 20 people like on back order waiting for one. And like when you're trying to do some, I don't know, special custom one-off thing, like it just tacks on time. And so then like I moved quickly out of that when I was like, okay, like how do I make something in a smaller, more repeatable package? I kind of went quickly over that way and tried to streamline it as much as possible, because like things people don't understand is like, despite the fact that it's a pedal in like a square enclosure that's like relatively standardized, like I'm sure you guys know, like there is so much work that happens like on the front end before you even like start putting parts on a PCB. Like the build itself is kind of the fast part.
It is.
I used to, especially during the pandemic, like I used to just set my camera on the desk while I was sitting there like measuring transistors, and it would give people an opportunity to like ask questions and have like a one-on-one discussion versus like a chat message, but also like to demonstrate that, hey, look, you guys can see I've been sitting here for the last 3 hours, like measuring parts with tweezers and like, you know, trying not to touch them and getting the right measurements and sticking them on a sheet and, you know, holding the sheet up and showing like, hey, I've just measured like 25 of them and like I've circled 2 of them that will probably be decent candidates. And so that shows that how much of this work is like not applicable for what I'm trying to use them for. All that work happens on the front end, and I was just trying to find myself time to be able to transistor test and ear audition and sort out pairs and put them aside or whatever. When I was spending time making like custom enclosures and stuff like that, it was just like adding on to that process so much that I couldn't keep up, right? Like I couldn't keep it moving. I'm a quality neat freak, so like I'm like obsessive about making sure that every pedal is like to the level that I would give like an artist or something like that, right? And so,
well, the thing is, you don't know who's going to buy them.
So I'll tell you a funny story, right? Like, it just goes to show, like, focus hard on your work when you put them out into the world, because you never know what's going to happen. I was contacted like a while back from Eric Johnson and like his camp. And I guess he was in a like used guitar store in Nashville. Was trying fuzz faces and stuff like that. And somebody had traded in some of my pedals secondhand. And the guy that ran the store was like, oh, have you ever tried like some of these? And I guess he had plugged into them and was like, these are awesome. Like, who have I never heard of this guy before? And that like prompted them to like get a hold of me and say, hey, like it's been asked that you make a couple things and send them over this way. And it was one of those things where I was like, one of the pedals that he tried was like a pedal that I it was like a giveaway pedal.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was one of these like Instagram promotional giveaway things. And that's a pedal that like I made it and gave it away to somebody, and lo and behold, like it turned out that it was good enough for him. He was at the point where he was like, oh, I might actually just buy this thing. It's, something that I would look for in a pedal. And like, you never know like where they might end up, right? And how that might circle back around. So just trying to really put your best into every single product that you make, because it might pay dividends, right?
Well, yeah. As a luthier, I never knew where some of the vintage instruments that I worked on would end up. And there were times where, something that I had restored for somebody ended up at a well-known shop in Nashville. And they said, who did the fret job on this? And like, I said, we can't do this good of work here. Who's this guy? And so I'm like,
it's also
never know.
History as well, isn't it? You're working on something now. You're a caretaker.
I want it to be up to my standards, and I have really high standards. I mean, that's the reason why I started working on my own shit in the first place, man. It's like nobody could meet my standards. And so I was like, well, I got to do it myself. And so that's just it. Like, if I'm going to get the interface that I want as a creative type, then I've got to make it.
Yeah. I just can't stick to a single type of build. I just can't do it. It's not ADHD, but it's like I get bored, real bored. It must be I don't know if it's a Navy thing, because there's always something different coming at you every day. And I think if I was just repeating it, I hear a lot of pedal builders saying, oh, and it's hard work screwing all these same, I don't know, pots on the same places, and they become a bit moany about it. And I'm thinking, well, for me, I get excited about building every single one. So
because each one's a different child for you.
Yeah,
totally. There's guys like you and Hubcap John and some of these guys that are doing like wacky stuff where you're like, they find an old
Chris from our
sets and friggin' like, right? Like just finding cool ways to use old stuff. And like
he's the pinnacle, I think, for me, of what I'm trying to achieve. He just builds the most insane pedals ever. I've got one of his treble boosters, and it's like the benchmark. I would test every pedal against that thing.
I've got one of his like amp top treble boosters in there.
Oh, cool.
With the like 6 selectable ones or whatever. Chris is amazing. Like
he is
one of those guys that like we always talk about the like pedal building community and like the willingness for people to like speak and share information and allow you to pick each other's brains and stuff like that. And Chris is one of those guys who's like the first guy I normally go to if I have like, hey Chris, man, you mind taking a look at some of these parts? Like, these transistors look right to you, or hey, you've tried one of these before and I might not have had, like, you've played a Mark I Supa, so like, what do you think about it? And like, if I was going to build one, like, do you have any tips on what you'd look for or whatever? And him and Mike from Seeker and these guys are like so quick to be like, oh man, like here's a laundry list of things, like try this, try this, try this, try this. It's like
he blew my mind. Tone Bender, Mike from Seeker is just insane. That I've watched that episode like 4 times now. I'm about to build a Mark I Tone Bender, and I just keep watching it, and every time I watch it, there's something that I missed.
Oh yeah, and like, dude, it's we're talking about building or whatever, like. So much of like, I mean, I've built stuff since I was a teenager. When I was playing music in my band, I was always the like techie guy, right? Like somewhere along the line, you find when you're 20 years old and you start walking into music stores and you start paying like $40-$50 for a patch cable, and somebody shows you like, you can buy those plugs for like $8 and make it yourself. You start finding ways to get resourceful, right? And like building your own, so you don't have to spend the cash on stuff. So like it kind of started there for me. I made kits and stuff like that.
I love it. So who was that? Sorry, we got Josh. Josh on says the most he's ever spent on a pedal shaped by a Venus Richoir and second-hand fuzz face from. And there's a second part to this.
Made by Aaron.
And he's saying basically it's one of the best looking, vintage looking pieces. And he shared a board with one of my Axis Fuzz clones. Well, I've only built 3 of them, so thank you very much for buying one.
Sweet.
Class. Do you know what? It still blows my mind when I see people who've got like something I've built on their board. I can't get my head around it. It's mad.
Dude, it's the most amazing thing. Like, I'm a huge advocate for do what you want to do with the pedal, right? Like, obviously it's yours when you buy it. I mean, I have a cabinet of like old stuff that kind of like sits there that I collect, but like I feel like I spend a lot of time like trying to really like make the pedal sound as good as I can make it sound, and like the hope is always that it ends up in the hands of somebody that's actually going to use it. Like, I'm the first person that's like, beat it up, like throw it on the floor, stomp on it now, like use the damn thing, right? Like, all my current builds now, I've like made particular attention into making them like as roadworthy as I can make them. So like things like the switch is on like headers and standoffs or whatever, and so like the conscious part of me is like, look, you step on it, like the switch could break. If the switch breaks, I've built it so that you can literally just unscrew it, pull the switch out, I'll mail you a new one, you can just drop it in and you're good to go again. Like, breakable parts are easily replaced. Like, use it, right? Like, don't baby it, like let her go. And so I always hope to see them like, and I'm fortunate enough, right? Like, I've had like both local sort of small guys, bedroom players, and sort of touring artists alike, like pick them up and
Joey
use them,
Landry.
and it's always an amazing thing. Gary Clark Jr. used one for like his entire tour.
Oh, sweet, yeah,
insane.
Yeah, and like it's nuts, man. Like, and it's this crazy thing to be like friends with your heroes. It's weird, right? And it's weird to be able to talk to some of these guys, and I'm so privileged to like know on a personal level so many of my guitar heroes, and like so much of the building gets shaped by like, I'm the first person to say like, man, criticize it if you want to criticize it. Like, I want your feedback. Like,
that's so good.
If Eric Johnson's going to sit down and say, hey, you know what I would change like this, this, and this, because what I look for is, you know, these characteristics.
Yeah.
I'm like, give it to me, right? Like, that's information that's invaluable. Like, I want to know what you think.
Yeah.
100%.
How I can like edge towards it. Like, don't just tell me it's awesome. Like, if you don't like it for whatever reason, like, I want to know.
Something I just did recently, I sent out a few of my pedals with my nephew, and he took them around to some places, and he brought them back. And it was great because he brought them back with scuffs on them. And now one of them, you know, that I sent out to him, it was kind of finished. Now it's becoming a relic because now I know how a 17-year-old 6'8" guitar player with cowboy boots on is going to treat it. So it looks exactly like somebody like that played it. Relic by nephew.
I just love the honest way of it. Like, I never want someone to hide what has happened to a pedal. I sent one to I don't know if you watch Jackson Brooksby. It used to be Twitch demos. So I sent him like an old box camera, you know, the old Brownie cameras changed into a Rangemaster, but it got damaged en route. The transistor died. I think it'd been squashed in a door or something. And he said, don't worry, I won't tell anyone. I was like, no, tell everyone. I'll fix it and it'll come straight back to you. And then you can tell people, yeah, it was an old part or it got crushed in the mail and it was a week turnaround and it come back. Tell them that. Don't hide it, for God's sake.
You can't ever have enough good experiences for people like that.
Exactly.
Because all it takes is one bad experience to wipe the slate clean.
And another pet hate is when someone says, let me know what you think of it. And then you give them an honest opinion and they're like offended. Like, if you don't want my opinion, don't ask me.
Don't ask.
I want people to offend me and tell me so then I can improve.
It's the best feedback in the world.
I should have a warning label because I have like a, you know, kind of an Asperger's personality. Don't ask me something you don't want my honest opinion of, or what might go between these ears, because there's no telling what might come out. If it comes across my mind, I'll say it.
Yeah. So when I started doing YouTube, my old boss, his name's Bones, Navy thing. He's left the Navy, and I sent him a couple of videos and said, tell me what you think. And his wife said to him, why does he want you to insult him? You're obviously going to say bad things. But it was like an honest opinion of someone saying, you're being over the top there, or, you know, you're too enthusiastic here, or too bored in here. And his wife was like, don't be horrible. He's like, no, he wants me to go to town on him. Great. And then I can adjust and you know, that's how you get better.
Oh, totally. It's like, and it's how you experiment, right? Like, I mean, so much of like, when I started building under the Dominion brand, I decided to go really hard into like, look, I love the fuzz face. It's probably one of my favorite pedals ever. It had nothing to do with like, hey, this is a relatively simple thing, simple on the surface to like throw together and make as a product. It had everything to do with like, it was a pedal that I loved. Like, I loved the sound of it on records. And so much of me was just like, I'm going to put my 10,000 hours in on this. And like, I'm going to be focused on making as good of this variant as I possibly can. Like, I'm not going on the internet and just pulling up the latest schematic. And then this week I'm making 10 of these and next week I'm making 10 of those. And like, I'll use the schematic and obviously put it together and it'll work. It was more about like, I want to know this thing, like the back of my hand.
Inside
not just
and out.
from like a technical perspective, because like, I'm the first person to say there's like art and science and you need to know where to draw the line. Because at some point, like art takes over, right? I figured it was something we would talk about in this podcast a little bit. Like, I will tell you, I am a rule breaker. Like, everything you read on the internet about making fuzz faces, like, I'm telling you right now, like, forget about it. Like, everything is somebody's opinion, and like, I'm dropping my opinion as well in this, so take that with a grain of salt. But the classic example of that is I'd probably on a weekly basis answer questions of people saying, hey, I'm trying to make my first fuzz face, and like, I've got my 80-120 split transistor HFE, whatever, and I'm trying to do the thing. And I'm kind of like, yeah, totally, like it'll work. But and again, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct in that the 80-120 thing was Mike Fuller, who wrote an opinion piece at one point saying, when I'm making a 69 fuzz or whatever, my preference is this. And that somewhere along the line hit that internet lore where it became fact. Where it was like, this is a golden rule.
I was there in the days when that was. Yeah, I was there in the days when that was happening.
And I will tell you right now, like, it's not like it sounds bad. It definitely sounds fine, and you can do it that way. But I tell people, like, vintage fuzz faces in the case over there, not a single one of those vintage fuzz faces like meets that spec. There's not even close.
Doesn't. No. If you get your meter out and you like take measurements, it's not going to be even in the ballpark.
And it's like, that's his opinion. And I'm not discrediting it, although like Mike Fuller, like we should probably take everything he says with a grain of salt these days. But like, everybody has their own opinion and preference, and like you should take that and understand like why they like it that way, and then formulate your own opinion through trial and error. I have a giant spreadsheet that I keep like fuzz face builds from every builder that I've ever tried. I've tried a gazillion of them, and I just recorded like, what did this builder do, and like why did they pick that, and da 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 da. And you start like informing yourself as to like, they clearly like it brighter. And so, they've changed the pot to a 250K pot, and they've used like a lower input cap, and they're like, okay, so like I see what they're doing and why they're doing it, versus like, other guy who likes it bassy and why. And so like, I'm keeping track of that, and then test for yourself and see like, okay, I kind of like what this guy is doing and why and whatever else. But just don't take everything you read as like this golden rule that like you have to follow, that you can't break. Because I'm telling you right now, if there's one thing anybody takes away from this podcast, is all the golden stuff lies on the outside.
It's all when you think outside of the box, man. And I went back through my Rolodex to the turn of the millennium, and in my brain here, and I think it was R.G. Keene that wrote that famous article, The Anatomy of the Fuzz Face, where the 80-120 pairings and the positions and all this other stuff.
I don't know if R.G. Keene was like,
that's the one. I think that's the one everybody keeps throwing up there. Yeah, they keep throwing that as the
him that.
Maybe he took but it was like late 1990s.
Yeah,
I remember like 1999.
The thing is, if one person releases it, another person backs it up. Whoever was first, it just becomes law, doesn't it?
Well, it's like Egyptology.
I tell people all the time, like, too, that like we've fallen into this trap where we like to like jump on the gear page and cruise through forums, and like it's twofold. One, we're always like searching for like, I would call it like intellectual information. Like we're looking for what
Little
somebody
nuggets,
says is good and why, without experiencing it for ourselves. But two, we're never like putting credence to like who's saying it. So like Guitar Guy 26 on the gear page could be Joe Blow guy in his bedroom that for whatever reason he really likes his new pedal, and so he's going to go and make a post about why he loves it. But like, who is that guy? And like, he could suck like, or have no ear whatsoever, and yet you're like, and I feel like people do this funny thing where it's like they sit down and they're like, I want to buy this pedal, but I'm not sure if I want to invest in it. So I'm going to go cruise through like Best Tube Screamers forum. And I'm going to pick out the one guy who found the pedal that I'm thinking about buying who confirms it. It's like confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. 100%.
That guy says that this is the best one ever. And so like, awesome. I have my like credits to like go ahead.
For me, I gotta plug them into all my different rigs and play through them and like chew on them for a while until I can decide. It's like, and even then I was like, now, I want them all.
Some of the best stuff that I've ever done. And given that I'm so huge into like testing everything and playing it and hearing how it sounds, whatever, there's been some stuff that I've made for people where like I know the sound that Buddy's trying to get or what they're after, and I've messed around trying to get things to work the right way that I needed them to work, and then eventually like you kind of let art take over, where you say, okay, like I'm at a science base level where it's technically the way it should be, and now I'm just going to deviate on purpose and see what happens. And I'm telling you, some of the best stuff that I've ever done that I've sent out, I've almost laughed, where I'm like, if I made this post about like, these are the specs of the pedal I'm about to sell out, people would be like, that guy is a hack.
They'd be like, that doesn't follow the rules.
But like, dude will get it and be like, man, this sounds unreal. Like, I've never played anything else that sounds like this. And I'm like, I swear that like the problem is that most people that are making stuff are too locked into like, I'm oversimplifying, but here's my 8120, here's like what it's supposed to be. And it's like, you're just making the same thing over and over again, where like all the romance in the old ones is in the like, it's on the edges, it's in the imperfections, it's in the ways that they're not.
The sentence missing before everyone's statement is if all other things stay the same, making a circuit this way should make this sound, but you're using old parts, nothing stays the same. It can be the value, or it can be what the thing's made of. The capacitors matter. Sometimes I took this one fuzz that I've now sent to Josh, actually, JHS, to a Birmingham guitar show, and everyone said if it was in a smaller enclosure, I'd buy it. Well, sorry, I can't do that because the caps in it are like as big as this mic type thing. It's not happening.
And then like, on the outside.
Can't you just make me one smaller? Like, well, no, because it won't be the same. It won't sound the same. It won't even be close.
Joe, man, I'm going to tell you crazy stuff. Like, think of a round fuzz face, okay? This is going to sound insane, but I'm positive it makes a difference. Look at an old fuzz face and look at like the wiring. Okay. Now look at a modern build. Look at anything I do where I like wire them like clean and in like a J pattern or whatever. I do that for the aesthetic cleanliness of it. But like I've had old fuzz faces where it looks like a bowl of spaghetti on the inside. Like the wires are just like this. Now I've gone in old ones before and been like, ooh, I hate the like mess of wires in this pedal. I'm literally just gonna clean them up and like tape them together and make it look nice and clean on the inside, and it did not sound the same.
It changes the sound because all those little antennas, working in their little in their webs of transmission.
A friend of mine who I talk, Sean at Riveter, I feel like we back and forth like all the time. He's got a great ear. He hears stuff. He sent me a clip one day and I couldn't believe him until I tried it for myself. He said, here are 2 clips. Listen to both of them. He's like, same pedal. Tell me which one sounds better. And sure enough, he played both. And he's like, it's the same everything, same pedal, whatever. There's one small change, you tell me. And I said, oh, this one to me sounds better. And he was like, okay. Showed me the picture. He's got the like fuzz face PCB. And on one of them, the one that I liked the most, the 2 transistors were like laying down like twins beside each other. And on the other one, we had them sticking up, and he was like, "Dude, they're influencing each other when they're side by side.
When they're side by side like that. Yep.
Maybe the average person wouldn't hear it, but I'm like downstairs trying it, and I'm like, dude, you are 100%
layout, man. That's something I think people miss on a regular basis. This pedal that I've been experimenting with, I can change the way this pedal sounds by how I, put this shielded wire in different positions.
100%.
And, in certain cases, I can tune it to pick up AM radio stations from, south of the border if I want it to. And so it's just, you never know until you try and you say, "Ooh, I touched it there. It did something weird."
So like, all I have to say is, like, Joe, you have Buddy talk about put it in a small enclosure, and you have to be like, dude, it might not be the same.
It might not be the same pedal anymore.
There's no might. It will not be the same. I mean, I wanted to talk about values of it. Sorry, John. Talking about values of transistors. I find that the transistor type, not just the transistor type, but the caps that you choose to use with that transistor affect it as well.
100%.
So sometimes it doesn't matter what sort of transistor values you've got HFE wise. If you change the caps, it's a different thing altogether. Or change the makeup. For example, if you're using Mylar or paper and oil or anything, it makes a difference. And it's not like one's better or worse. It's what are you trying to achieve. And sometimes I'll be making a pedal and I think it's terrible, but the customer will be like, "I love the sound of this." Like them Axis fuzzers, I hated them. It weren't my thing. It was more like an overdrivey, and it kind of gated out a little bit. It wasn't my thing anyway. But everyone who's bought one loves them, and each one of them sounded different, even though I built them together. You
start learning like the influence of the parts. Like you try enough of them, and you start learning, and then you start making like informed choices. Like I feel like everything I do now, I've kind of found this niche where like the build itself is modernized, and like somewhere along the line I tried enough like caps and stuff that I said, hell, it's like WEMA caps where I can, and like to me it's just like they feel like they respond faster, they're tighter feeling. Like for what I go for, they kind of just work best. And I found this like NOS like transistors and stuff. So like I'm trying to keep like the beating heart of it vintage, but like build the outside of it to like an upgraded modern. Like I'm making like multi-layer PCBs with ground planes to shield from noise, and like stuff like Vemiram pedals would use and stuff. Like it's overkill, but like it's low noise floor. It's everything I can do to try and like keep it tight. And it's like you find this kind of lane, but like you only know for like there'll be certain guys that'll message me and be like, "I'm really looking for like this certain thing," and I'm like, you know what? This is gonna sound hilarious, but like instead of putting the expensive premium like Primo WEMA cap in here, you want the like 1 cent ceramic.
Yep.
And like
one of the things I was gonna do is like go back to our chat for a second, because I think we missed a few points and questions. Josh back there, he asked a question: "What's on your pedal boards right now, and what tones are you chasing?"
Okay, so
he also says everything Aaron has just said is backed up by how good his fuzz faces sound. Sounds like records, man. So
yeah, I love it. So what's on your board, John?
Well, on my board, right now in the input stage, first thing I plug into is a boot face. And that's a nod to the neighbors up north there. It's my fuzz face with a reversed transistor in the circuit. Sick. And then, it's, according to Simon, it's like a new form of witchcraft that I've discovered. And I've discovered how to attenuate the circuit so you actually get some volume out of it. Because when I first made the accidental discovery, reassembling the pedal that I'm sending to Joe, funny enough, it was really low gain, but I loved the way it sounded. I was like, I can play with these values and bring it back up. And I did. And now it's just a whole new beast. So from there, it's my Pink Foxy, which is a Fox tone bender with the vintage Phillips caps that I had new old stock laying around, the original mushroom caps. And then next to that is my newly returned salt grinder, which is a MOSFET JFET circuit that gives you a really nice punchy attack and like boost for days. And then I've put some clipping circuits in that are selectable, so you can go for an asymmetrical clipping or a symmetrical germanium clipping. And then that runs into my germanium NPN boost circuit. And then that goes into another base-oriented NPN boost circuit, and then a BP10 compressor, because I'm a bass player too. So that's what's on my board right now. That's
I couldn't even go through mine. It's so big.
Well, that's just because that's what's on my board that I've been experimenting with, or what I use whenever I pick up this beast right here and pull it out.
You go on bass.
Yeah.
What about you, Adam? What's the highlights of your board, or what tones are you going for?
It's funny, man. Like, I swear I've been building the same pedal board for like 5 years. I love all the same things, so it never really changes. And I feel like I've had this moment recently where like I've started building enough stuff myself where like I've started putting like all my own stuff on my own pedal board. Whereas like normally I almost like am apprehensive about it, which sounds stupid because like you make the stuff for you. And so obviously it should sound like what you want it to sound like, but I just really like having stuff from like friends of mine and things like that. They've made stuff for me. Like I like to, if anything, tap into something different. But to me, it's normally like, it's very Hendrix based. I'll have some sort of wah-wah. I have a nice old Top Logo Crybaby that's amazing. I also have one from Steve over at Venus Switch. It's a killer wah-wah.
Oh, Venus Switch makes awesome stuff. Yeah.
Makes awesome stuff. And like some sort of fuzz face, you know, pick your poison. Some sort of tube screamer. I can't get away from it. I am a tube screamer guy. I have to have one.
Mate, you need to touch base with Simon from JSA Effects. He makes the best tube screamer ever. I've got about, I don't know, 15 tube screamers. I love them. But and I just bought them the Tamora mod one, the higher gain.
Yeah, I have that one.
It's a little bit dark for me, but anyway, Simon he searches out the old MA150 diodes and all of that jazz, and it sounds, it's stupid to say clearer because that's a tone word, but it sounds clearer. It's weird, very weird.
He takes all the junk out of the circuit too. That's what's so
I have
cool
an old
about
one right there. That's 19. I think it's 1980.
really early.
It's an early one. It's pretty clean. It doesn't have the 4558 chip in it. It's got the other one, whatever the RCA, like, and on the RC1 or whatever.
Yeah.
And dude, it sounds rocking. Like and I hate to be the person that like hypes the old stuff, but like to me, like as soon as you start like adding output volume and stuff, like you start taking away the like magic of the like compression. Like I want it to compress. I want it to like I don't know. At a certain point, like people ask me all the time, they're like, "Yo, what's the best tube screamer?" I'm like, "It's made by Ivan. Go buy one." Like,
they're so good,
right? Like it's dude, a reissue 808 is awesome. So yeah, and then Univibe. I'm a Univibe junkie. I have had a million of them. I love them so much. Sir Henry Vibe is killer. R Weaver Effects makes a killer one. And then like some sort of Echoplexy.
Echoplexes are awesome.
And Octavia. Like I need the Octavia. John, it's funny you talk about the backwards transistor. I have again, it's in the shelf there somewhere. I think it's right there. I have an original 70s Tycho Brahe Octavia.
Oh yeah.
And the transistor, I think it's the first one, Q1 in it is backwards.
Oh, someone put it in the wrong way when they were building it, was it?
Wow. Dude, it's the way it is in the layout?
It's the layout, you could move that, like you could put that transistor in either way.
And it would work,
but like,
it would still function.
Yeah, totally. But that pedal has like this spooky thing. And like I've looked over it comprehensively. I've been in the process of like, and I've been working on an Octavia forever. I keep listening to, there's this one Stevie Ray bootleg. It's like almost 90s, 89, 90s, towards the end. Stevie Ray, like Fire, Fury, something like that. Yeah, he plays Voodoo Child.
Yep.
And the Octavia tone in it is like the best. And
Oh, man.
what breaks my brain is I know he's using the Roger Mayer spaceship. That's what it is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But to me, I don't like the Roger Mayer spaceship.
Yeah.
Right? And so I keep being like some combo of like him hitting the amps that are driving, guitar, whatever. And so like
super high output
like,
speakers.
Dude, when I go to make a pedal, like I always try to think about like how do I present value to the market? Like how do I provide people with something that doesn't exist? Because like I'm a collector. I love other people's builds. To me, it's kind of boring for me to be like, I'm gonna make an Octavia. I'm gonna pull up the
100%.
schematic for the Tycho Brahe and just make another one. And Full Tone did it for years. And like, and yes, you could like put the time and effort into like individual builds that like bigger companies maybe don't or whatever. But like at a certain point, I'm always like what am I really contributing to like the tonal market here?
Mm-hmm.
If I'm kind of just doing the same thing again. And so like I always try to pick like here's a tone on a record. And like how do I get to that? Like even Zonk Machine, right? Like Zonk Machine is funny because like, dude, I love Dole Bramhall. I love the Zonk Machine sound. I for the last like 5 years must have bought and sold I don't know how many Zonk clones and like trying to find them. I own an original one now.
Get in.
Which is amazing. I got it in an insane deal from a guitar store where a guy brought it in on consignment. He bought it new.
Wow.
But all that to say is like people constantly ask me, they said, hey man, like when are you going to come out with a Zonk pedal? And I would say there's some like BG Harding and like Acid Fuzz and like all these guys that do awesome ones. Seeker, like part of me was like, what do I have to like contribute to that space that's not already being done? Until like I was so fortunate that like I had the original Zonk machine from Electrovox Studios that was used on Doyle Bramhall's Rich Man, like the pedal that's on that record.
So you
I
can
had
get
it here
that
for like a year. And so I was able to really like dissect that pedal and really understand the ins and outs of it. And like, it wasn't until I actually played it that I was like, oh man, like it's kind of bad, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. Like,
totally makes sense.
It's very difficult to play. Like you're fighting it the whole time. It's like trying to gate, and you start learning that like so much of that sound is the player like pushing back against the pedal. And like you have to be good at playing to like be able to like work with it. Otherwise, it's just you're gonna be like this pedal's broken. It doesn't sustain. It doesn't do what it needs to do. But like all that to say is like that was the only thing that kickstarted me to say, I've now spent a year with this pedal. I've played it comprehensively. Like I know what it sounds like. I know what the specs of it are. I will make a Zonk machine, and the only way I will make it will be as close as I can make sonic replica of the one that was used on the record. For better or for worse, right?
That is like, what you bring to the table, and
like exactly, right? Like I've had the one that was used on the record that everybody's listening to. Does Mike at Seeker make one that sounds awesome? Yes. Is it probably easier to play than the one that I'm going to make? I'm going to say probably yes. Like I think there's going to be people that will play mine and be like, man, like I'm having a difficult time. Like totally. And I remember talking to John at Acid Fuzz, who also like was comprehensively involved with Doyle at the time. And he was like, I was really apprehensive about selling ones that were kind of like very close to that spec because 90% of the people that are going to get it on the tail end are going to say, this pedal's broken, man. Like it's not working properly. And like I'm going to try and caveat it that it's like it is what it is, right? But I sent one over to like Richie Fret Junkies over in the UK, and if there's anybody that like knows the Doyle thing, it's that guy. And when he played it, he's like, man, this is. I said, yeah, dude. Like most people make them too much like Mark Ones, and like it's not the same, right? So yeah, like that's a long-winded way to say like to me, it's always about like I own the 2 original Diaz pedals, the #1 prototype, both the Square Face and the Texas Ranger. They're literally on the shelf right there. So like, I'll put 2 of them in the same box. Like nobody's really done that yet. It's for all intents and purposes, it's a Sunlion, right? Like it's been done a million times. But like, at least I can say I can compare them against those 2 pedals and say, hey, here you go.
Exactly. I get asked all the time to make a flanger, and I say, well, there's no point just going by the 4P camo flange. It's better than I can do, and I would charge you more. But
Same thing,
when it comes to things like treble boost or range master, I know I can build something that is different for what other people build. I don't want to be second best. I want to be in my own lane type thing. So
totally. And that was like me with the fuzz face, man. It was all about like, just go so hard on this one pedal and become like the fuzz face guy, right? Like, spend your 10,000 hours right there, and like know the ins and outs and how to adjust and tweak. And if somebody's talking, I don't like this, I don't like that, like know how to manipulate and tweak it. And to me, that was like, that's how I can contribute to the space, is like
exactly
be proficient in that one build.
Oh man, Wadey's finally made it in.
He was late. Yeah. At a late meeting, he said,
hello, mate.
Oh, yeah, and Crazy Fandango, the blue liquid in my glass is Romulan ale. Also known as GT's Synergy Kombucha, Sacred Life flavor.
See, like Ruben buddy's talking about, like, I've seen people using resistors as heat diffusers on top of them.
I was just reading that. Like,
yeah, dude.
What's that for? For germanium transistors, is it?
Yeah, I mean, like, dude, like the Benson temperature controlled one. If you think about how he's doing it, right? He's using low gain transistors that he's heating up with resistors on top to bring them up to spec so that you can bring it down, right? I'll tell you crazy stuff like carbon comp resistors. Carbon comp resistors that have drifted, you can bake them in the oven.
And they'll come back.
Bring them back to spec.
Yeah, because you just
it's already a recurring trick. Yeah.
I used to stick them in a bag of rice, just like you would like an electronic device that's been damaged. I seen a way of doing it with a diode. Just put between 2 of the legs.
The old grid face thing that's on the with the bias diode.
But every way of doing it, I think, changes the sound. I'm not going to say better or worse, but it does change the sound.
It does give an effect. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, like fuzz face type stuff. Like I talk to guys all the time about like bias knobs and stuff like that, and I see the validity of putting a bias knob on the front of the pedal if you want to like vary the tone of it, like if you want to make it wacky sounding or not.
Yeah.
But I got into a long chat the other day about somebody talking about like, oh, if I'm going to use my fuzz face on a hot stage, like having the bias knob up top is like more helpful to me so I can adjust it. And like, I kind of got into a back and forth with Buddy where I was like, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to say if it's a hot stage, if it's hot enough that like you need to tweak the bias, it's too hot to be using.
It's too hot to be using
pedal. Yeah. Because I'm like, dude, you don't understand. Like, again, the average person doesn't know and they're not expected to know, but like that bias knob in 90% of the time is, you know, swinging voltage a little bit on the second transistor, but like you completely disregard that the first transistor affects the second transistor. And if it's 100%. Hot, that first transistor is dragging voltage down and then it's screwing up the second transistor. You can throw the voltage on Q2 all you want, but if Q1 is all dragged down, it's going to be spitty and splatty and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm the first person to be like, use silicon in that case, like just eliminate the variable.
2 switches and just change the transistors off for silicon. Espresso Effects does this. Just 2 little switches. You can change it. If you use 4-pin 4-pole switches, you can even change the bias resistor so then it biases the silicon to where you want it. I do all mine on a pot, all of it. Everyone.
I have a bias trimmer to like be able to like marginally fine tune. I made a post about this the other day because it was kind of like, look, you can take a bias trimmer on Q2 And if you need to swing Q2 so hard, like let's say you had to take that 8.2K and you had to make it 14K. If you look at the schematic, like you will see that like adding that much resistance is going to screw up the output volume of the pedal. Like the more you need to chuck resistance onto Q2, so like there's a window that you can work within to kind of like fine tune that bias point, but like you quickly get outside of what sounds good. But I'm the first person to be like, every pedal I make is very simple, like volume, fuzz, whatever.
Yeah.
There's a bias trimmer inside. For me, I've already ear tested and selected and put in a stock circuit that I have. Like, these sound good. Do I need to nudge it a little bit here or there? Yes. Like, I live in Canada. It's, 20 degrees in my workshop. It might be going to California where it's, 34 degrees. Like, but yeah, buddy might need to adjust it a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, I embrace this philosophy of like simplicity, and that the builder, like you're paying the builder for their ear and to do the work for you, like to tune in that pedal to what they think sounds good. If you don't like jive with a pedal builder, that's cool. You might not like the way they hear it. Like I'm a Strat guy. Most of my stuff is played with Strats. So like it's geared to that world.
Yeah.
But like, if I were to give you a pedal that basically said, here, every resistor is a pot and there's a million switches and you can tweak to your heart's desire, like what value am I providing? Like nothing. Like I'm not putting my stamp on it at all. I'm basically saying, here, end user, you do the work.
Here's your playground.
I try to keep it simple. Like I embrace this philosophy of like rock and roll, throw the volume up, throw it on the floor, more time playing, less time fiddling, right? Like, because that's what I like. I don't like to look at 50 switches and
when I start seeing more than 4 knobs on a pedal that has 1 foot switch, I'm like, do I really need that many variables to control? And it's like, I've got 4 knobs on a lot of my pedals, but there's 2 foot switches and there's 2 pedals inside of the box.
I'm just about to build a Dr. Bogey. If you've ever seen them, the Boogie amplifier, but with JFETs. It's like got six knobs. Like it's insane. It's massive. And I was drilling the enclosure out yesterday, thinking it's giving me anxiety now already. I just can't.
I've got some pre-drill anxiety myself. I've got some enclosures I need to drill. I'm like, do I feel up for it yet?
We've got a question here from Abe Alejandro. Have you tried the Chandler? What's that Stuffney? They put germanium components in epoxy box.
Okay.
I want to say that they used to do the like the wedge enclosures? Is that them? No. I might be thinking of something else.
He might be talking about like where they've tried to isolate the germanium components with an epoxy layer so that they're not as temperature sensitive, but they leave the prongs sticking out so you can plug them into a socket.
All right. Okay. I haven't tried them, but
that's the first I've heard of it. That's a cool concept. I don't know if it works or not. I mean, it could be a gimmick. I'd have to try it out myself.
Being a fridge engineer by trade, I tried to put a fridge inside a fuzz face before. So the old Coke can fridges where it's just a transistor to lower the temperature. I did that. However, whenever you turn it on, it's just like a fucking air raid siren. And so it made this. I put it on like a kill switch on a foot switch, so it made like this weird siren fuzz, whatever. Great, but it's almost impossible to cool them down. So now I just say, don't leave it out in the sun.
Dude, it's part
so
of
many
over
the sun. Summer
it's
you
part
get.
of the romance of the pedal.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
I can tell you right now, like fuzz face, like I've made like creative choices in my builds, like for the sake of like quality of life stuff, like pull down resistor to prevent pops on the switch.
100%.
To me, it's something you need to have. People are going to complain about, but like you are sacrificing a little bit of the input impedance with the pull down resistor. LED, like most guys want to see that the pedal is on. Like you kind of know it's on, it's a fuzz, but like some guys like the convenience of seeing it. I've tried every LED under the sun, and to me, like the only way to do it where you're sacrificing the least is to use one of these super bright LEDs, and that way you're able to put like a really high, so like I use a super bright LED and use like a 47K to like drop down
Oh wow.
the lightness. So to me, and I did the math, like I cut the amount of current down by like 4 times from like a normal LED to the super bright because of that 47K and everything. And I'm like, dude, the LED, if you listen closely, like it makes the difference. It's drawing current. It's like part of the circuit. If it's in there, you are sacrificing something if you have it. Now, I know most people want it. So like, how do you minimize the effect that it has? Right? Like all that stuff. Like you need to be super conscious.
I put a crybaby wah filter circuit, the 9-volt filter out of that, the original ones, on the input to the LED. So it's just like a 100 NF, 100 microfarad, and they use a 1K resistor, but I use about a 470 ohm on the input and output. So you're getting like loads. It's basically like an amplifier filter stage, you know, like if you're building a valve amp. So you've got like your caps, resistor, and then that way that feeds into the LED. So it's isolating that from the circuit by all of that. And that's as much mitigation as I can physically do.
But I tell people all the time, like, if you want it to be like legit, the only way to do it is to go 100% pure and deal with all the nonsense, right? Like in my pedals, like faceless fuzz and stuff like that, like I do little things to like limit the fuzz pot. Because again, it's like a quality of life thing. Like Joe Blow, who wants to grab their silicon fuzz, like they want to crank the fuzz knob up, and it's a bad experience if like they go traditional and they get oscillation at the top end. And like the easy answer there is like, well, just back it off till it goes away. But like again, it's like it's a feel of like, well, I don't want to navigate. Like I talk about, like, I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but like if you go bowling and you put the bumpers up, like you want to be able to bowl without the gutters, right? And so like every pedal I make is effectively with the bumpers up to basically be like, it's playing in the nice space. Always. So you never have to deal with the bullshit of the oscillation at the far end, or like I try to weed out the radio on the back end and like whatever, right? But like you are making conscious sacrifices when you do that, right? Like you're nothing is the same as like that, you know, legit 66. It's old school. It's
so I've got real world, like a real world experience on doing implementing in products. People don't want the unreserved sort of warts and all. So my anchor drive, it's basically two gain stages with controls and a master volume. I've tried to add, I've tried to take away, so then when you max out everything, it doesn't absolutely collapse in on itself and sound like, you're killing your amp. And people always say to me, I think it's broken. Like, it's not broken. You just need to turn it down. But if I do anything to it, it takes away. There's like I can't even explain it. It's like a presence that if you add anything in there, it will take that presence away, and then it's not the same thing. But people don't want to buy that. And I sell a lot less of them than my Kossoff drive, which is kind of within the lanes. So it really is a thing.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of people that come back and say, I think it's broke. I maxed everything out. Or I maxed both the gains out, and it's like, well,
it's tough, man. Like
full on.
Every faceless fuzz for me is like I said, I have a test rig and I have the like stock circuit the way I like it, with the small changes in terms of like whatever, volume and caps and things like that. But like, it's the stuff people don't see, right? It's like every transistor set is like ear tested in the stock circuit, and then it's me being like, where is the limit on the fuzz pot where it starts to oscillate? It's different for
each one,
every pair of transistors. Sometimes I could put a 10R in there and limit it. Sometimes I have to put an 18R in there. Sometimes I have to put like, and what people don't see is like every single pedal is like on a little spec sheet of paper, like these two transistors need the 10R resistor to limit it, so that like I'm taking away the nonsense, but I'm only just taking it away so that I'm limiting in only as much as I have to. Like the easy response would be like throw a 50R in there and never worry about it. But like you're gonna miss that like
that little magic spot
at the tail end of it, right?
100%. The thing is, everyone wants vintage. They want vintage components, vintage build, but they don't want all the stuff that comes with vintage. You know, do you know what I mean? It's like buying a vintage. It's like buying a vintage guitar or whatever. Like no one wants like the, I don't know, the fact that the lacquer's peeling off or whatever. It looks good on a picture, and they're like, oh, it looks cool. And then when you've got it, they're like, oh, it's, I don't know, it's broken or whatever.
Well, it's like, that's why I stopped doing it. Like all my resistors and stuff, like I pivoted to like the like, again, it's overkill, but like I went to the like 2-watt Vishay, like they somewhat look like an old carbon comp and like they're amp quality level resistors. But like to me, I was like, I can't sit here and like nitpick through carbon comps and like
for days on end.
Specs, and then like, oh, guess what? Sometimes they can be noisy and sometimes like whatever. And like I had to make conscious choices to be like, this has the right vibe. It feels, because like I'm a huge believer in like open the back of the pedal, like it better feel awesome to you.
You have to do that. If you're into pedals, there's no one who picks up their pedal and plugs it in straight away. You just don't do it. You take the back off.
And in the world of builders that we have now, like the whole package matters. Right? Like if I feel good about a pedal that I bought, I like the way it looks. I like the way the circuit looks. Like whether you like it or not, there's like cognitive bias. Like 100%. If I want my pedal to sound sick, it will in some ways. Like I don't know if that makes sense.
We say this all the time, mate.
You're on the same page with us.
People, I say it all the time, but people always say to me, Joe, it's in your head. And I'm like, well, good, because I experience everything in my head. So if I think it's good and it feels good, it is good. On my videos online, you get like on YouTube, you get so many people who say you could get this sound using a PCB and 30 pence components. Like, you're missing the point of this whole video. I'm using big components and a tag board because that's the point of the video. And you get people who say, no, it doesn't make any difference to the sound. Like, well, it does, because when I take the back off and look inside it, I go, that looks good. And then I think to myself, that sounds awesome. And then it does.
Like 100%. Dude, if you look at anything I do, you would not believe the amount of time I spent like PCB designing to like not try and have crosstalk between components. So like there's there's the specifics of like this can't be close to this, and like prototyping and making sure you're not getting it and whatever else. But at the same time, I'm sitting there being like, I also want it to be like symmetrical and aesthetically pleasing. When
they are very
how do you like
I've done PCB layouts where it's actually like a geometric design still fitting within the the component layout things, because there's enough space, and I'm going to make this into a work of art inside of a work of art inside of a work of art. So
100%.
How infuriating is it when you get one of your pedals back and someone's melted the insides of them after all that work? I seen that post today. I was just thinking there must have been steam coming out of your ears.
Look, man, like I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because it comes off like I'm complaining, and it's not. It's not the case. But like, look, I get the used gear market. I'm one of you. Like, you buy pedals, you sell pedals, you try stuff. What's not for you, you move it on. Whatever. Like, I totally get it. It's part of the game. When you build a pedal and you send it out into the universe, like, again, to revert back to a story, like Joe Blow bedroom player might not like it, and it might end up into the hands of famous guy X, like on the tail end. So like, it's not all bad, but I only give like warranty on my pedal to the original buyer, because like 100%. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've sent a pedal to somebody and like I'll follow the tracking. And it's like, oh, pedal's been delivered. And I'm always trying to like make sure people like, hey, you got your pedal sounding good, everything cool. Like, too often I find people like get the pedal and the first thing they're doing is they're opening it up and they're twiddling knobs and they're screwing with bias trimmers. And it's like, what makes you think that you're going to make it sound any better than I did when I sent it out to you? Like, try it first before you think like you got to personalize it in some way. And like, on a secondhand product, like I guess what I'm saying is like I like to control the experience. Like I want somebody to get a Dominion product and I want them to open the box and feel awesome about getting a pedal that's been worked on and had transistors selected, and like all this love has gone into building the pedal. And I want them to be able to plug it in and hear it the way that I intended them to hear it for the first time.
Yeah.
Now, if you pick up a pedal secondhand that's gone through 5 different guys and they've all twiddled with bias and thrown it all over the place and they don't know what they're doing and they're tweaking this and tweaking that, there's a part of me that dies inside when I think about the guy getting it secondhand, because a lot of times they're like, I've wanted one of your pedals for a long time and I finally got one and I picked it up, and my first experience is like something secondhand, and they might plug it in and it might sound like shit because Joe Guy has like tweaked the bias all around in some weird spot.
Or changed his transistors and stuff like that.
Whatever, right? And then like, or melted the chip or whatever. And then like, and then their first experience is like, oh, I don't like Dominion products.
Yeah. Because
they don't sound right for me or whatever. Like in the case of that chip, dude, I'd never seen anything like that. I don't know if I have the photo somewhere. The IC chip, which was at that time used to flip the polarity, like as a charge pump.
Oh, okay.
Was literally cracked completely down the middle. The only thing I can think of is they must have had it plugged into like a Zuma or something and like accidentally flipped up to 18 volts or something.
Or more.
Dude, it was completely melted. Like, it would have had to have been getting like tons of juice for like a long time.
I've seen some things like that happen too, man.
And like the story is the guy that picks it up, the guy who sold it to him messaged me and was like, hey, like, I'm losing a bit of volume on the germanium side of this pedal. And I said, hey, like, some of those original pedals that used the charge pump, it was an inherent issue that at the very end of max volume, there was like a little dip in volume at the end of it. Consequence of using the chip, I tried 50 chips, like it just never, it's partly why I was like, discontinue it, it's bothering me.
Yeah.
But it was never like, it was like, I got the fuzz maxed and I got the volume maxed, and there's like a minuscule dip in volume that like, you just back the volume off and you're fine. But like, so Buddy messaged me and I was like, yeah, like I'm assuming that's what he's talking about. Buddy has then taken that pedal and sold it on to New Guy. New Guy messages me and he's like, hey, so just double checking, I'm playing this pedal and I'm on the germanium side and there's like no volume. Guy that sold it to me said it's a normal thing, but I just wanted to check or whatever. And I'm like, again, I don't know, it's pedal number like 26 or something. Like I would have made it in 2020. I'm like, show me the inside so I can take a look. And he sends me a picture and I'm like, well, I see your problem. Like your IC chip is like completely fried and like cracked down the middle. I'm like, no wonder it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoever sold you that, like, so it's obviously not you that did it. It might not have even been the guy that sold it to you. Like that guy might have had it from, again, it's probably changed hands 6 times over.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know where down the line that happened. But then again, like it's this experience of like, I was all excited to pick up one of your pedals and I finally do. And like, I'm like let down by it. And it's like, yeah, well, man, if it was me and I sent that to you, and I don't know, dude, I've had weird stuff happen in the mail.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, yes.
And stuff that's like, again, it's unfortunate. It gets there and like, I don't know, transistor went bad or something.
You use no components.
Be like, oh man, send it back. Like I'm apologizing. You know, shit happens. I will fix it. But to go through, and again, like I'm not downplaying secondhand gear, but like the risk that you take is that it's gone through Joe Guy 6 times over, and they've probably had all their fun playing around and tweaking with it, and it's probably no longer like what I intended it.
Another problem is you don't want that out in the world, so you're now obliged. Well, I feel with me, I'm obliged to take it back and fix it.
So I took it back, but that melted pedal, I said send it to me, and I literally again I don't normally do this, but I was like, I will send you a faceless fuzz. Like I'm not making a sale now, but I can't have that pedal.
You can't have that out there.
Or I don't know, is it going to catch fire or like?
Yeah.
Like we're not going to have this, right? But yeah, like it's that stuff that like I don't know, man. Like that was I've never seen anything
the
like
nightmare
that.
fuel.
When I looked at the picture of the actual of the socket, it looked like someone had set it on fire.
Dude,
like it sounds like it got a huge voltage, like what you were describing. Like somebody ran it up to 48 volts or something. I don't know.
They can get super hot, can't they? So maybe it just to actually crack the IC in half is that something
that takes a lot.
Cracked in half and literally like melted.
That takes a lot for an IC. I mean, even a cheap IC, it takes a lot to cause that to happen.
And like those original pedals had like a whatever standard charge pump in them when they first went out. And I think I sold like the first 100 or so went out. And I started noticing eventually that like the charge pump, when paired sometimes with like a digital delay or something like that, the charge pump would like pick up some of the like digital and it would leak this like really faint, high pitched like whine into the system. And I then went down the rabbit hole of like, oh no, we can't have this. Like that's not acceptable. Although it's so faint, but I was like, no. And I went and I bought like 15 different charge pumps of like different specs that had like different filter cutoffs for like frequencies or whatever. And I eventually found one that eliminated that noise because like the audible cutoff was like low enough that it got rid of it. And I mailed out like 100 of those chips to everybody that bought a pedal. I said, I'm going to send you a new chip in the mail.
Wow.
Replace the one that's in there because technically the one's better. So again, like that particular pedal that melted would have been one of those.
Yeah.
Did Buddy take the new chip and put it in
upside down? Backwards? Yeah.
Like,
who knows?
That's possible. Yeah.
But still, man, like that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Like just running voltage through in the wrong way at the proper voltage. That
What happens if it was like 48 volts?
Now, if it's 48 volts reverse, that's a different story. Yeah.
So Third Tone from the Sun says, do you guys still go on the builder forums? I'm on a couple of Discord forums and stuff, but to be honest, I try and turn my phone off as much as I can because I'm either if I'm with my daughter, I want her to be like the focus, and if I start going through, as soon as I go online, it's like 50 messages. So I try not to. I do try and steer clear of the builders forums and stuff. I use
like DIY stomp boxes and stuff. Like if I'm looking for information, I'm always learning. Yeah. I'm really fortunate. Like if you follow any of those forums, Mark Hammer.
Mark Hammer's the god of those forums.
So Mark Hammer lives 20 minutes from me.
Oh, like, dude.
No way. So I never knew his second name. John sort of clued me up there, but I said, this guy has made basically every layout I've ever used.
Dude, if you go to this
he's taught me how to build pedals.
This guy has like...
You tell him for me that thank you for 20 some years of like keeping this passion alive in this young man.
Because like 100%, man. Like he's I couldn't believe I sent him a message at one point because we were on a Canadian like forum. And I sent him a message and he was like, oh, like, why don't you just come over and talk about it, whatever. And I was like, where are you? And he was like, oh, I'm in this area of Ottawa. And I was like, that's literally 15 minutes from my house.
That's awesome.
And that guy has tried every circuit and tinkered with friggin' everything known to man.
So,
like, don't talk to him unless you want to sit down and talk for an hour.
Oh, dude, yeah. The interactions I've had with him, like, it's just been so great because we'll go down rabbit holes on forums together.
He does for the way that he takes, because there's some people give him so much of it abuse. He's putting free schematics and
nuggets
layouts.
Like
he's giving you basically the keys to the kingdom for free, and people will go on and say, well, you've made a mistake here, mine's not working, and they're real rude about it. It's not like it's not like, by the way, any chance you can help me, or
it's not like that they went back and double checked their work because he's you've got this in the wrong place here, try that.
Not to mention the fact that he's like, I did this like 30 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. I posted this on the internet in 1995.
He's still super polite, and well, I try and take a leaf out of his book, I think, when I'm interacting with them sorts of people. Well, thanks to Uncle Dan's vinyl, he says he'd never do that to a builder, like if he buys secondhand. Yep, and Craze Fandango's just been on and had a look at your picture of it.
He was pretty mad.
Aaron spoke of the battery boxes. Oh, no, we haven't, but I did want to ask about these.
So
What's the deal, mate?
I like hooked up with, I've told this story on my page before. When I was younger playing guitar in my band, this is a bit of a side story, but it's kind of fun at the same time. The era that we were playing in, we had found out that like I got really into like MIDI switching and capability and stuff like that at the time, because we had found ways to like, somewhere along the line, someone had discovered that if you took an iPod and you had a track and you panned the track hard left and right and you put the click on one side and you put like, you know, synths and background noise and fun stuff on the other side, if the drummer played to the click on the track, you could feed the other side mono to the PA, and so that you could have like external sounds that the band couldn't reproduce in the PA while you were playing the song. So you could more actively like reproduce the record. And I went down this path of like, I had a big MIDI foot switch where I was able to like trigger sounds and stuff from samplers to like add to the playing. Anyway, all that to say is I got huge into that stuff. And at the time, Axis Electronics was like the king, was the goat of like MIDI foot switching and rig routing and all that stuff. And I had always dreamed of having an Axis, whatever it was called, FX1 foot switch board or something. I never had one because they were, you know, $1,000 back in 2000 or whatever. But he went and worked for Mesa Boogie and stuff later on, and then like a couple years ago, he like comes back and makes a post and he says, "Hey, I'm back making like interfaces and switchers and MIDI things or whatever." And I sent him a message on Instagram, and I was like, "Man, if this is like the Axis Electronics that I remember when I was playing music, like, dude, you are a legend. Like, it was my dream to own products of yours. Like, if I can help you out in any way, like with my following, like, please let me know. Like, I will share stuff, like whatever. Like, I should not have 5,000 followers, and you, who are like a legend, you made rigs for Van Halen and whatever else, like, you should not have like 100 followers. We'll solve this problem." Anyway, we got to talking back and forth because of that, and the battery box was one of those things where I was like, man, I had always had this idea of like fuzz faces and batteries, and the battery's part of the circuit, and the battery very much has an influence on the circuit, not just the voltage, but like as the voltage drains, the internal resistance of the battery changes, and that resistance on the battery like affects the response time and everything, the feel of the pedal. Like, you know, Eric Johnson and those guys aren't crazy. Like, it totally makes a difference. And I remember talking to Mario where I was like, man, I have this idea and I need somebody smarter than me to like help me. I want to recreate not just the like voltage change of the battery, but it needs to feel and like respond and push back like a carbon battery when you're using a power supply. Because like, I'm trying to be like, again, you're always thinking of the modern player. Like, they don't want to unplug the pedal and change the actual battery. And King Tone and these guys offer cool like little 9-volt replacement boxes and stuff. But again, the battery is draining over time, and so your voltage is changing and the tone is changing. And I was like, there's got to be a way to get like some sort of consistency, but still have that push-pull feel and everything. So
that magic spot.
Totally. And I was like, that's my idea. And I was like, do you think that you could help me like develop something that would like do that? And he was like, I think I could like do that. Like, I think, you know, with other products, there's gig rig stuff, and like there are things.
I should say the gig rig does one.
But the gig rig also like only does one facet of it, right? Like, it doesn't,
exactly.
It doesn't take all the factors that you bring into play.
You might like the battery more run down.
Totally. So like we got together and we prototyped like 50 times over, and then man, it's so funny how stuff like iteratively comes together. Like, I sent the earliest prototype to a friend of mine and was like, man, try this or whatever. And you know, he at some point was like, oh, it would be cool to like be able to put the like sag function on a switch. And if it was on a switch, you could then like bounce back and forth. You could kind of cop two different sounds out of the same pedal. And then it's funny how, like, in design, I then turn to Mario. I'm like, man, that's a killer idea. Like, we should find a way to make a 1/4-inch jack so that we could have an optional foot switch. And then, like, in designing the pedal, it's fortuitous because, like, that 1/4-inch jack is what holds the PCB in the enclosure. Like,
Oh, cool.
the jack, and it's one of those stupid things where it's like that one idea actually made the design process easier because it let us mount the board in the enclosure nicer.
Yeah.
Like, if we had not had it, we would have had to have standoffs or something funky to, like, make it work. So it's funny how, like, anyway, and then, like, he came up with some stuff where he's like, you can sag the voltage, but it's on a dual gang pot. So as you're sagging the voltage, it's changing the internal resistance, like, in tandem. So the feel is different. And, like, there's a push button to change the, like, stiffness, which is like, it changes the, like, immediacy of the response. So, like, more stiffness feels very much like it's very, like, immediate and it's an attack. Think of it like solid state rectifier versus, like, tube rectifier. If you take out the stiffness, it kind of, like, has a millisecond of almost, like, squish and delay in the response. Anyway, we're super, like, proud of it. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to build because a bunch of parts constantly get back ordered, like relays and stuff like that.
Oh, man.
But, like, we're doing what we can to, like, keep them in there. But, like, it's just one of those stupid things where I was like, as the fuzz space guy, how do I, like, you know, help bring to market again something that kind of does something that other things don't. So, like, something like the JHS Vulture I see Uncle Don's talking here is only sagging voltage. So it's just taking your 9 volts and bringing it down to 3.5 or whatever.
It's
the most basic.
That's the most basic version of it that you can do.
Like, the battery box editing, it's hard to explain to people because you start getting really technical talking about the battery box and how it's different, because most people are like, oh, sag. Again, they're thinking of Voodoo Labs, like, Pedal Power 2 branded sag as the voltage sag, right? I'm thinking more to it.
I'm thinking more along the lines of a valve amp filter section. If you change your 22 microfarad cap in a preamp to a 40 microfarad cap, that's extreme. It's going to be more immediate. Same voltage, but you're going to feel it more.
Totally.
That's how I'm thinking of it. Totally. What a great idea. And now you can do a deluxe fuzz with that built in.
We talked about it. Dude, man, we talked about it. The funny thing is I had guys message right away because it's like, it's a one pedal thing. Like, it's a power supply to battery box to pedal. Like, before the pedal was even released, I had people messaging being like, okay, but, like, what if I have 3 fuzzes?
And I want it for each one.
Can you make a deluxe version that has, like, 3 of them in one? And I was like, hold on, guys. Like, let's put the one out first.
To be fair, you could do a bank of 6 of them and have it, and it could be a power supply. Never mind.
My original idea was to have at least like 9 volt in from the power supply, and then have DC converters or whatever give you 2 outs, so you could change 1 tap to 2. Because someone like me, I always use, like, the fuzz and the wah-wah or something like that.
Yeah.
So I would typically always want at least 2. So maybe in the future, but, like, they were, like, said, we had to, like, streamline and try to proof of concept and make the idea work first, right? But, like, anyway, all that to say, it was just amazing that a hero of mine that I looked up to in the industry somehow circles back around, and he's like, oh man, I can't wait. I'm like, dude, I'm a nobody. Like, I'm just a guy that, like, builds pedals in, like, a closet in my basement, right? Like, it's not glamorous at all. Like, you've done stuff that, like, you know,
it's so funny you say that. I did a video trying to cost one of JHS's pedals. There was that to and fro with him and someone else, and I did a video where I built one of his pedals and costed it. And I got so much hell on there. And in the video, what people didn't actually watch it. In the video, I actually said, I'm a guy sat in my basement, in my shed, converted to a workshop, making pedals like myself. He runs a company that's actually a pedal company. There's a difference here.
There's a whole difference, yeah.
But in perspective.
I had a buddy of mine come over, like, the other day who had, like, never been here before. He had, like, a pedal that was broken, and he was in town, and he said, hey, I got a pedal at one of these old, like, Arion chorus ones where, like, it wants the 12 volts, like an old Boss pedal. And I was like, oh, I'm pretty sure there's just limiting resistor in there that needs to get jumpered out. Like, bring it over and we'll fix it. We'll bring it to 9 volts or whatever. Anyway, he comes over and he comes down into my basement, into like my workshop. And he's kind of like, he has that like, oh man, like, it's way less glamorous than I thought. I'm like, dude, it's literally like a long storage closet that we've said, Aaron, your allowance in this house for space is this much.
This is the domestic. Right? This is the domestic treaty that has been come to.
So like, find out how to use this closet. Right?
I'm sitting in it right now, mate. But I tell you what, it's like a little slice of heaven.
Oh yeah,
so good to have just your own little.
Nothing like a man cave.
But I've made it into I've got a workshop that end, storage at the back, and a YouTube studio, like all crammed in on top of each other. It's like,
dude, it's like, don't turn the camera around. Like, you don't want to see what's on it. I'm so jealous of like Marcus behind me.
Oh no,
like Marcus's new workshop is like, that's to me like, oh man, like let's just.
I'd have been happy with his old one. I was like, that's what I modeled this on. I was like, that's perfect. You can get to everything from one seat. I mean,
it makes me think about like Chris at Pedal Pond will talk about like early videos where he's like, you see me playing, and he's like, if you actually saw
the background,
I'm literally in a storage closet and I'm smushed between 2 shelves, and I'm trying to like play a lick that like on YouTube looks like, oh, I'm sat in this glorious space and I'm playing my lick, and he's like, I can barely play because I'm so tight.
That's great.
His new space looks good. I'm gonna go out and visit soon.
That's unbelievable. It converted, right? Some like entire old. It's crazy.
He's done so well. They've got like 200,000 followers or subscribers on YouTube. That's insane, mate. Like, how well are they doing? He's good on camera as well, isn't he?
Well, yeah, they did a really good media tour when they launched some of their stuff. I mean, it was like every other time I was looking at something to do with pedals on YouTube, he was popping up on something. I was like, wow. Yeah, so good on them. That's the way you do it if you're going to go with a company.
That you must spend, like, as basically, like, I like to say I'm a one-man show. Like, my partner, she helps me, like, measure parts and stuff. Like, she jumps in when she can, but, like, for all intents and purposes, like, it's a one-man operation. And, like, people don't understand the, like, amount of time that needs to go into, like, I keep thinking about, like, guys that manage to, like, do their own demos, and they're able to like plug into their interface and like shoot their fancy media and edit it and then put it together and manage their social media like account and their regular posts. Because if you don't post every 2 days, you're going to fall to the bottom of the algorithm and it's never going to share anything with anybody. And how do you keep up with all that stuff? Like, man, oh man, oh man.
And I'm making enough money to actually live off, which is the pedal thing has dropped so much since COVID. I think before COVID and maybe during COVID, I could sell easily 20 pedals a week. Easy. I'm nowhere near that now.
Yeah, I'm old and jaded enough to not care.
The market is it's fickle, man. Like,
yeah,
I'll go 2 weeks where like nothing will move, and then
all of a sudden,
I don't know, for whatever reason, like the third week, like I'll sell 15 of them. Like, if something hot will happen. I don't know if somebody made a post somewhere, or if I don't know, everybody got paid, or like I don't know, right?
Sometimes
like,
it just comes in waves like that too, man. You just never know.
People keep asking, they're like, "Oh, when are you gonna just make?" Because like this is not my full-time gig at all, and people will often be like, "When are you gonna just, shut her down and jump in and do it full time?" And I'm like, man, I could not hang my hat on hoping that this month fuzz pedals are still as hot as they were last month. Right?
Well, it's so easy for someone to ask you that question when they don't have to do it. Yeah. Like, well then be my guest. You go ahead and do it, because I don't have enough time.
I think it's doable. It's just, it's a big risk, isn't it? That first jump. I mean, when we spoke to Brian Wampley, he said eventually he just did it. It's not like he got to a point where
I'm quickly getting to the point where, like, look, I don't want to say I need to hire somebody. Like, I think hiring an employee comes with a whole lot of responsibility.
A whole lot of
you want to take care of them. You want to be respectful to them. You want to, like, I mean, I've toyed with the idea of, like, does somebody want to come and like intern and like learn
can
some
be
stuff
that
and
can
like
be a
trade
nightmare.
off.
That,
Totally. I also think that like what I might do is start contracting out some like tedious work that eats up my time.
that's
So like
better. That's
I
the way
like if you look at my foot switches on a daughter board with a pinhead, right? Because they socket in.
Yep.
It's a stupid tedious solder the board and the pins to the switch. But like, I'm selling twin steps right now. I got 50 of them lined up with circuit boards and everything. Well, there's 2 foot switches for every pedal, so that's 100 foot switches that I need to then at the end solder. And like, does it take a ton of time? Not really. But like, would I turn around and be like, I'm gonna pay you $3 a foot switch to put it together for me so I don't have to worry about it. So like it's almost like a mini contract of like, here's 1,000 foot switches. Like, I'll pay you $1,000 to just somebody looking for some side cash might say, oh yeah, like I can solder,
especially
I'll go ahead and do that.
Especially if you can find somebody with a skill set to properly do it. Because I've done jobs like that for people when we were working on this acoustic synthesizer project for Paul Vaux, fellow Canadian. He used to design amps for Yorkville and Trainer, but he hired me. Same thing, like he tested my soldering skills and all the stuff. He didn't want to be sitting there, soldering all these connections to all these different components. He wants to be on his computer designing circuits, and he wants to be talking to all the GoFundMe members. I'm there soldering like crazy. So that's the way to do it. Because I've done what you talked about, the taking on somebody to teach. When I was a luthier, I needed another me, and I ended up getting a third of the work that I would have normally got done. And it cost me 3 times more because they were messing so many things up. I was having to eat stuff and like go back and fix it. And it can be a nightmare really fast when you're trying to train somebody into your fold.
I know I talked with Nick Greer at one point, and he basically said, look, man, he's like, the best piece of advice I can give you is go at it by yourself as long as you
possibly can. Yes,
like,
sir.
You better be absolutely drowning to the point that you're like, I can't anymore, and then look at doing what you need to do to expand.
I thought about contracting out like the video editing side of things for YouTube.
Oh my God.
Running a website. But see, I can only come at things from a military perspective. And for me, I would never have my lads and say, like, I want you to go and do this job here, unless I know it inside out myself. Do you know what I mean? If I'm giving someone an order, they may say, well, what tool do I use? Where does it go? If I don't know all them answers, I can't contract it out yet. So until I'm nailing YouTube and my website's amazing, I won't know if someone's not doing it right if I don't know how to do it.
No, and that also helps. Yeah, that also helps save you money and time, because then you can communicate exactly what you're looking for, and you're not having to go back and forth. Yeah,
I'm fortunate now. If anyone from the Navy's watching, I don't do this, but I'm fortunate now that I've got a desk job. So I sit behind my desk all day, and the guys reporting, yes, chief, no chief, I've lost my shoes, chief, and like, get a fucking new pair, done, next person. And I sit there editing videos on my phone all day. It's fantastic. So I've all his spare time. Great. But then if I was to go full time, I want to be building pedals rather than.
I think there's a point at which you have to like gauge, like, how big do you want it to be? Like I wouldn't want to be JHS.
No, it's a diminishing return after a certain point. It really is.
I'd rather be like,
Chris Vincent.
Even some of the media stuff, like even playing the game of like, trying to get your pedals out to influencers and people that can like demo and showcase it and whatever. Like, I love all those guys. But like, there's a point of like diminishing returns, right? Like it's hard to send so much stuff out and then hope that people like latch on to the demo, because 2 days later, the next product is getting demoed and everybody's attention just shifts over
to that.
And like, I've almost hit this space where I would almost rather be like underground, where it's like, you'll hear about it through word of mouth and then like stumble upon my page and you organically like find out about it.
You've got enough people who can play in them that word of mouth is a thing. So the ball's rolling already down the hill.
Yeah, but
Sure.
he also did the groundwork and like meeting those people
Exactly,
and getting it
that's
into
what I'm
those
saying.
hands. So yeah, I mean,
Exactly. So you've
Yeah.
done enough. You've given it a push, and now it will self-perpetuate. So that's great.
yeah.
So we got some comments here. John Pardo says your brand basically tropical fish caps. You're right. Daniel Mincher is also ex-Navy. Shock horror senior rate sitting on his ass doing jack shit. Yep, and he paid me 54 grand a year to do it. Cheers. And that's pounds, not dollars. Memory Lane Electronics. Hello, mate. How's it going? He built me.
I'm late once again. Oh no.
So he built me this fuzz with a treble booster in the same box, and a treble booster was a FAL treble booster. I'd never heard of it. What a thing! It's like, it's insane. So good. I almost never want to play it because it sounds nothing like my treble boosters. I built the FAL treble booster. It sounds nothing like his own. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't even think I've ever heard of it.
So it was a black box with no controls on whatsoever. And I found out that Richie Blackmore used it for like 4 years during his Deep Purple. I haven't got it next to me. Yeah, FAL in capitals. And the circuit's insane. So there's two versions. There's a 67 version and a 69 version. And the 69 version uses two 10 microfarad caps. No, 10 NF caps in series to make 5 NF. Like, I don't know why, but it just did. Very weird circuit.
Probably all they could get at the time, if you want to know the truth.
Well, they had a circuit in 67 and then changed it, but it's got like 100 NF input cap, which makes it really dark. So I obviously added the switch, but yeah, it's an interesting circuit, and it biases differently. Like, I found that my usual transistor that I biased to 6.7 volts was biased into 3 volts in this one. Weird.
That's way low. Is that what you really said, treble booster, Joe? 6.7?
Yeah. Well,
yeah, I'm normally up. I'm normally up
start.
At 7.3.
Yeah. Well, I started 6.7 and then turn everything on full, put it to whatever EQ setting, and then I get my audio probe and go straight to the collector and listen to it from the collector and then dial it in. Yeah.
That's next for me. I gotta get a scope.
I've just got one.
Just for fun. Like, I mean, I've always done it by ear. I feel like at a certain point, like, if it sounds good, it is good. But like, I don't know. I feel like there would be a lot of cool, like, monkeying around.
There are. Oh man, scopes are so much fun.
So yeah. I got a handheld one just for my birthday off my mother-in-law. Fantastic. And it's brilliant. The only problem is, instead of building pedals, I end up messing with it. Like,
does it have its own tone generator?
Yeah, two channels of scope, and in fact, wait there, I've got it
here. I've got the old school. I've got the like Keith kit oscilloscope that my dad built from the kit, and then we've got the tone generator that he built and all this other stuff. Oh, nice, yeah.
Oh wow,
yeah, those are so cool.
My JHS Muff video, I used this in it, the last one, and it's got 2 channels of scope, so you can overlay the 2 sine waves and a signal generator.
Yeah,
and an auto function that makes it all work.
Like the one that got stolen from me a few years ago.
Is it?
Yeah, but mine was bigger. They've come.
I was going
to
say, in the Navy we have the big.
Mine was
a pain in the ass to set up.
Mine was about the size of like an iPad.
Oh yeah.
Well,
this thing is like the size of my Fluke, basically a bit bigger.
Yeah, they've gotten down to the multimeter size now. That's insane.
Well, this is a multimeter as well.
Oh wow!
70
so
quid.
There you go. What?
Yeah, 70 quid, mate, on Amazon. Can't go wrong. I'll send you the link.
Maybe it's only available in England. I'll have to see.
No, I've got it. If you go to that video, mate, I've got it an Amazon affiliates link.
Okay, yeah. If I get one, I'll get it through your link. There we go.
Honestly, for Amazon, shame on Amazon. I've sold maybe, I don't know, 150 items in 2 months, and it's come to so far $38, and it's not even enough to pay out. So bad. I tell you what, the best thing is YouTube ad revenue. They're brilliant. Not if you label it as a podcast, they kill the revenue. But I think that maybe they kill the adverts. Maybe that's it.
No, we're still good adverts.
Congrats to you for like building up the page. Like the amount of work. Joe, didn't you have like a pretty big Instagram account like originally that got hacked or something, and then you lost it all?
So I got to 17,000 followers, and when I was deployed, we go into American bases. So I may be in Japan, which is where it happens. So if I'm ashore in Japan and I log into Wi-Fi, my phone registers them in Japan. But then if I go on the American base and log into Wi-Fi, it registers it in America. So they blocked my account thinking that it had been hacked. But of course, there's no pictures of me on my account. And I also, if I'd have kept the same phone, it would have been great. But while we were on deployment, we were tit for tat with the Chinese all the time. And every time you come into contact with a foreign navy, you have to take your SIM card out of your phone. Brilliant. So in and out of all the time. And I lost my bloody SIM card because it was in and out my phone all the time. So when I got back, there was just literally no way of getting in without my SIM card, because they do this weird facial recognition. But of course, my face doesn't look like a bloody pedal. So at that point,
I can't imagine, like,
I was like a whiny little bitch. I'm telling you, it was like the worst thing ever to me. My wife sat me down and said, grow up here, build another one. And I was like, do you know what? I really needed that. And so I just did. And I made sure to put my face on it this time.
I don't know how I would have dealt with it. Like the amount of time and effort that goes into growing something like organically to get up to that spot and have to start again from scratch. Like, well,
but
I'm used to it. It's just after you have it happen once or twice, you're just like, yeah, it's time to move on, do something different.
In today's world, it doesn't matter. So what I found with YouTube and Instagram is that algorithm no longer preferences like followers and stuff. It's no longer social media. It's like interest media. So someone could make an account tomorrow, post a video that's good enough and get 3 million views. It doesn't even look at the followers. It looks at what people previously watched and how close your video is to it.
Mm-hmm.
So
the amount of time you like spend putting together a post on something where you're like, okay, like all this effort has gone into this post and like it gets like no traction. And then you make some dumb post about like, here's a picture of a battery. And it's me being like, hey, by the way, like batteries sound better. And you're like, this post like is miles above like.
How does that work?
Almost like, writing a song, you're like, this is just like throwaway trash that I wrote for somebody. And then it becomes your like legendary #1 song that everybody wants you to play. It's like, be careful what you write. You might be like tied to it for the rest of your life,
Yeah. Oh, it's a weird niche to be in, isn't it, for us? Because everything is like really focused on a certain amount of people. It's not like making, I don't know, political commentary or something like that. You post on Instagram or X sort of about Donald Trump, views.
Yeah,
but for us,
then
there's only so many people.
Yeah, that's a flash in the pan. Like nobody's going to be interested in that next week because there's something else that somebody else has posted. This conversation that the three of us monkeys are having right now, somebody might watch this 20 years from now and go, whoa, it's those guys. Wow. We should never have listened to them.
The good thing about pedals is it's not like computers or cameras and stuff where the next thing's going to usurp it and they go out of fashion. In 60 years, my fuzz face is still going to sound awesome.
Yep.
So at least it's evergreen.
Exactly.
Have you thought about going down a YouTube route, Aaron, have you? Or are you...
I have a YouTube channel for the brand. My intention was always to just host like, if I had product demos and stuff over there, like every now and then I'll have an idea of like, I should shoot again, like how to paint a fuzz face or something the way that I do it. Because like at a certain point, the information is like just open source it and let somebody else, like I'm not really doing it anymore. So let somebody else try their hand at it. Like what difference does it make? If anything, it just makes me be like, I don't know, like more valuable than that. Like I've given out the information versus like holding it secret. So I think about that, but like, man, oh man, like the amount of like time and effort and like equipment and like editing time and all that. Like, and I get that there's a certain amount of like DIYism is cool. Like just use your phone if you have to and start there and record something and whatever else. But like maybe, but I'm so pressed for time right now. Like I have so many builds to like push out the door that like it's hard to think about trying to dedicate time to stuff like that as well. But like it's tit for tat, right? Like it would help you grow. But like
Mm-hmm.
I try to do this kind of stuff as much as I can to like at least get my face out there on somebody else's page.
Mm-hmm. Well, something that a good friend of mine and I had done in the Luthery side of things is look for a magazine that wants to write an article about what it is, and they'll send the photo crew and everything to you and document you doing everything and make it look really great and give you all the shine, put it in their magazine, and give you the content to put on your page. Because
I've had this that's cool. Like I have this idea that like we've talked about it now. We're probably going to try and do it this summer. I had this idea where I was like, I got a lot of cool old fuzz faces and zonks and whatever tone benders and fancy stuff and some cool like loud amps and old guitars and things like that. Like I've talked a little bit about like I kind of want to rent like a rental jam space or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Load in a bunch of like cool old gear, some of my pedals, some vintage ones, some whatever, and then invite like closed door type stuff, but invite some like great players and stuff to just come over and shoot the shit and just try a bunch of stuff. And then basically me and a couple other guys basically just have cameras and record like all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then use it as content to like be able to put together some, because I love there's 2 video demos that if you go look them up, there's one demo with Philip Sace demoing the old aux fuzz. He's sitting in his jam space and it's the sound of that fuzz in the room.
Yeah, I know the one.
I love it. And there's a video of Scott McKeon playing the SM fuzz where they kind of like go into the house, they put the pedal on the ground, they plug it in, and they're kind of warming up. And it's very like organic. It's less of like, here's me plugging into my aux box and playing this pedal. It's very like, this is kind of what it sounds like in the room.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of want to get a bunch of that content where I have my old Echoplex and stuff and just plug it into my old Marshall that needs to be on 10 and just fucking let it rip in a room the way it's supposed to sound and get all that content, because to me that's like invaluable. So like maybe this summer the plan will be to get some of that done. I might document. I'm heading over to the UK in like June, so I might document some of that trip. I'm going to try
there you go. Yeah,
I'm going to try to meet a couple guys while I'm out there. It's going to be tight, but I'm going to see if I can at least meet up with some people and shake some hands. And
you should just do a day out of it. Pick a big guitar store like Anderton's and then go and do a day where you're there and let people travel there.
Like totally good. Right? Or like somebody from over there could tell me like, oh, you should probably go here, and like tell a bunch of guys that, you know, I don't know how easy it is or not to get around over in the UK. I think like
Scotland to the very lowest of England is only 6 hours by car, so you're never that far compared to you guys.
Yeah. We're gonna be in London. We're gonna be in London for about a week.
So Denmark Street, 100%.
Like totally, right?
But that the idea of getting a get together it's funny you say that, because my wife come up with this idea. So I've got Todd from the Guitar Knobs coming over in September to go and see Oasis. Fucking get in.
Guys, I'm so jealous. Like I keep telling my partner, I'm like, I would have loved to go to Wembley and just watch Oasis.
Well, my wife spent like
me from like being in high school, but like I would 100% be there.
It's I love them, but my wife got us tickets, so he's flying over, and while he's here, she said, "Why don't you book out the local recording studio?" I've done a bit of work for him, so I get on well with the guy. He's got a Marshall 200-watt major, and all this stuff, and like just invite a few people around for a few beers, sit in a recording studio, turn up some amps, and I weren't
make
even
some content.
Well, I didn't think about making content until you just said, but it definitely will be now.
Yeah.
But I was just gonna like everyone bring a guitar or a pedal or something, and I was just gonna put it out to everyone and just have like
think about
as
how
many
much
people
stuff you can get made. Like I said, I got like 5 old fuzz faces of like silicon and germanium and whatever, and like think of the amount of guys that would be like, hey, I got my like super reverb and I'm like, hell with it, let it rip. It's on 8, it's into the Echoplex. Throw the fuzz face on the ground. Like while we're at it, throw Dominion fuzz on the ground. shoot guys like in the moment, like experience. There's plenty of guys that
like
have never been able to like let it rip like that.
Yeah, taking
and
stuff
capture
and
their
it
like
different
initial
ways.
reaction and like here's some A/B and it like.
Who's ever
People
turned
would
up a
watch
200
that like
watt
crazy.
Marshall? Not me.
I have.
I mean, the guy. I met him because he bought a Kossoff drive because he said he got this amp for steel, and basically this guy died and his widow was trying to offload it for pretty cheap. It was like less than $2,000, and he said I can't turn it up. It's super clean, obviously, and he's like I just need something to give it a bit of grit, and so I ended up tweaking this Kossoff drive for him. But like, just what a setup. And it's in this old, it's like an old bunker because this is like a military area. There's loads of old forts and stuff there. And it's in one of them archways. It's just like the coolest recording studio. I'm just thinking having like, 20 people get together and all bring some gear.
Exactly.
And,
dude, if you just have flies on the wall, like, that's the content people want to see. Like, people doesn't want to see like, hey, this is me. I'm sitting down and I'm demoing this thing. I feel like if you had a bunch of guys laughing and being like, hey, let's turn this Marshall Super Bass up to 10 and see what happens. Like, everybody is locked in on that, right?
That's what's really cool about the that pedal show.
Totally.
Yeah, when those two guys get in there and they turn something on and it like blows them out and like Dan's like, ah!
John Pardo's just funnily enough said like a TPS experience day. Yeah. Well, I've been twice now to TPS on experience days, and them guys are insane.
Joe, must be cool.
It's better. So my wife again got me ticket. I don't know how she knew that I wanted to go, but she got me a ticket while I was deployed. So I think I was up north somewhere anyway, like off the coast of Russia. I got back, I'm never going to see again. And she said, as a never going to see again present, there you go. And I was like, what the fuck? This is just mad. It's like meeting your heroes. But when you get there, they're like the most normal people you'll ever meet. Absolutely amazing people, like real nice, genuine. It's not what you think.
Dan's over in the States now, right?
They should be pretentious, shouldn't they? Because look at them. They're like the biggest celebrities in the business. If they take a brand new amp from, say, Marshall and say, this is terrible, or play it and say, yeah, it's nice, but not enthusiastically, it tanks the product.
Dude, they just did the thing that, like, I'll tell you a story. My brother, for a while, worked for a like made to measure like menswear company, and they had this older guy that was working with them, and this older guy had worked for like everybody, right? Like he had worked in like Savile Row area, had worked for Polo, had worked for like all these fancy companies, and like the guy was just like a wealth of knowledge. Right? Like knew everything about everything. And they used to have like it was almost like self-directed. Once a week, they used to close the shop down, and they used to have like what, for lack of a better word, like teaching nights, where Buddy would pick a topic and say, today we're going to talk about like worsted wool and like why it's cool and like applications and whatever. Or like where this style comes from and the history of it and whatever else. And they would sit around and they would drink beers, and this guy would like hold court and talk about, because he would be like, you guys are going to sell stuff. So it's the romance of selling, like you get married and you want to wear this because it ties into that, whatever. My brother at the time literally talked to the company. They wouldn't listen to him. He was like, you guys are missing the trick. Like, you guys need to set a camera in for this team meeting and just push record and let it go.
100%.
And then just put the unfiltered jibber jabber on YouTube. He was like, people will sit and watch this.
Yeah.
Like,
you'll get loads.
It's interesting. It's real reactions. Like, and this was like years ago, like before, like a lot more people are doing it now. You're seeing it happen with like podcasts and stuff like it. TPS is literally that. Those two guys were sitting in a room fucking around with gear. And somewhere along the lines, one of them said,
let's film this.
Might get something out of this. So like, let's just throw a camera up and they can be a fly on the wall while it happens. And then like, look
what they've actually built, because you don't really see it from where you are in the world. But when you're behind the scenes there, the cameras they've got, the audio equipment, like the analog interfaces they've got, like just I can't even explain. I'm probably going to throw a few
go back and watch early episodes, right?
Like, I know.
Episodes are like,
but
whatever, crappy camera.
funny story. 2017, I had stopped playing guitar and I was deployed to the Gulf. And my boss said to me, I might start learning guitar. I'm bored. We're away. And I said, I'll learn with you. Come on, I'll get one. And while we were away, I stumbled across that pedal show, started watching them. And of course, I started watching, it was like their first couple of episodes, maybe. And I was like, I'll make these guys a pedal. I got back into pedal building. I sent them a pedal. Never heard a thing about it, probably because it went into the massive, they've got like a vault that gets sent to them. But I thought it was just two guys in their shed. What I didn't realize is the whole production behind it, because they grew so much in that short amount of time.
It's the illusion of two guys in the shed backed by a massive production team now, but it started out as two guys.
They're like out in a farm, and they had half of the farm, like half of the buildings for their bit, and there was a hairdressing school in the other bit, but the hairdressers moved out and they were going to let it out, and they were like, loud guitars, someone new moving in, we better take up that space as well. So they just have this massive amount of, mate, it's unbelievable. It's
got to keep that. You got to keep all that stuff somewhere. Yeah.
I keep meaning to make a package of stuff. I think my plan is, if I'm over there in June timeframe, to see if I can give them a kit of stuff. Like, I've talked back and forth with a couple of them, like a couple times, about getting stuff through, like Joey and them. And I keep being like, oh, I need to get you some stuff, but like it's hard with orders or whatever. And I think now I'm at the point where like the product line will have like, I mean, I got some stuff coming where like I probably have 5 or 6 pedals. Like, I keep thinking like I should just make one of each and basically say, here lads, like here's a box, use it, don't use it. Charity auction one of it, like do whatever you got to do. But like, you know, maybe at some point one will like get on the show. Like, not that I really need it, but like it would be cool to like, I keep thinking like, I think I would make a fuzz face that Mick would like.
So I said the same thing. Yeah, 100%. The thing with them is they don't do paid demos and that. So what their reactions are just their reactions.
It's just like what? Yeah, it's all raw and unfiltered. Mick was flying solo today on the live, and he said that Dan's in the States, and he said he's going to be in the Southeast United States at the end of the month. We have one of the largest music festivals for the blues and American folk music and bluegrass and that kind of thing in the world, in my hometown where I'm sitting right now. I'm wondering if Dan is going to be in Wilkes County, North Carolina for, the blues part of the MerleFest. That would just be too funny if Dan is in Wilkes County at the end of the month, because they have and he's a blues head. I mean, he eats, lives, sleeps, and drinks the blues. I mean, I've gone and hung out there with Jorma Kakkonen. I've gone out there and hung out with Roy Bookbinder, with trying to remember some of the guys that Etta James.
Is it run by a guitar store? Is it?
Oh no! This is the Doc and Merle Watson Memorial Festival. I don't know if you know who Doc Watson is across the pond, but he's an American treasure. Yeah, Doc Watson. Oh, Doc Watson's an American.
I thought he was off Back to the Future.
No. We're talking about a guitar player. His son Merle died tragically, but he was like doing this whole like American rock music revival thing in the 70s, and blending like all the folk traditions and the bluegrass traditions with the rock stuff that was coming out of the scene. And so they started this festival in memory of him for a Garden of the Senses, and it's just grown into this thing where you've got people like Government Mule playing, you've got Marty Stewart playing, you've got Steve Martin and the Steep Canyon Rangers are playing. Like, it's just, I've met so many people through that festival that are just heroes of mine, and actually played with them in the Midnight Jam, walking out on stage at midnight with all these people surrounding you, and you're playing with these people. And it's like Tommy Emmanuel has serenaded me and my girlfriend at the time backstage with a guitar song. So it's like, it's just one of those things. I'm like, I grew up around it, and it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of a big deal to people that haven't been around it all their life. So I'm wondering if Dan's coming here for that.
Yeah, it'd be good if he does.
I would love to run into him in person, because he's just like a great guy as far as like his video presence.
I feel for them, because they get sent. They showed us this cupboard, which is probably the size of my workshop. that is just pedals, you know. And
so much
every
stuff that
time
they must never
yeah,
Yeah.
I know. But every time I give them a pedal each or whatever, I say, don't worry about giving it away. Don't stick it in here. Just give it to someone. Move it on. Something.
You can think of how many like small companies must
yeah.
send stuff that
Oh,
like,
yeah.
to them they're just starting out, and all it takes is like
Then
you
to
know
say no.
a quick mention on that show that could blow them up. But it's kind of like being on the JHS show or something like that. I'm like almost the opposite. I almost like deliberately stay away from it. Like I'm really fortunate that I've had like a lot of really great players play a lot of the stuff.
So many.
Kind of like I'm kind of cachet about it. Like I kind of just, if people find out, they find out. But like I don't really like to make all sorts of posts of like, hey, there's. I don't like to feel like I use people's name and like their brands to kind of like hawk my own stuff. I kind of like to just let it be, and like maybe that's to my own detriment. But like there's a certain amount of it that I feel like it's better to just kind of let it organically be its own thing.
I think you've managed to get to the people who actually make the music though. So that's probably more important, arguably.
That's what I love about this festival being here is I'm not there to like hawk my products. I'm there to like find the people that make the music and have fun with them. And if my services and my products, you know, fall into their hands for some reason, that's great. But I'm also like, you know, there and like we're just exchanging ideas. And
it's
I'm learning new songs
in the world to like pick up a new record and have it be like, there's one of my favorite artists, and like the sound on that song is something that like I made, or like I'm standing there watching Gary Clark Jr. and he's playing when my train pulls in, and I'm like,
oh mate,
that song that I've listened to however many times like live right now is being played with something that I made. Like that's
it must be
crazy.
insane. But he's on a whole nother level as well, and you know.
It's such a weird feel. Like it's awesome. Like, dude, and some guys, like the amount of trust that some of these guys have. Like, I've gone to gigs with like Joey and them, where like you're rushing into the gig and you're like, hey man, like I made it to the gig. Like, how's it going? And he's like, oh man, like quick swing back and say hi. Like, and you show up and you're like, bro, here, how's it going? Like, I made you a pedal. I hope you dig it. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go plug it in right now. I'm like, whoa, like don't like, you know, you don't need to like, you know, throw this wrench in your whole set or whatever. And he's like, no, like it works, right? There's a battery in it. I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, like I trust.
I'll figure it out.
And, like, come out.
Like, did I put the battery in?
Like, yeah, like, and to go out straight away and see him go like straight to it with confidence and like, I don't know, man. It's nerve wracking. It never is not nerve wracking, right?
He's,
like,
I think out of everyone who plays live and stuff, who I admire, like I love Chris Buck, but I think of everyone like style wise and gear wise, Joey has probably influenced me the most by far. Like I've got a gold top Les Paul shaped guitar that I had made for me because I seen Joey Landreth's with the wraparound tailpiece, and I just got obsessed with it. I was like, I need it in my life. he's just got this thing. And at that pedal show, I played through the Joey amp.
The Two Rock?
Yeah, life changing. So, like, in fact, we had the Two Rock and mix. He's got the reverb, and the super reverb, or classic reverb. Sorry, yeah, that together, and it was just, I was just like, I need this in my life, and I can't. I'll never be able to afford $6,000 for the head. It's just not happening.
It's crazy, right? Like,
yeah, I can't.
And honestly, the best thing about some of these guys, though, too, is like they're the coolest guys.
Oh, 100%.
Like, and like we'll hang out and talk and I don't know, shoot messages back and forth about stuff. And like the fun thing is like we're never talking about that.
Yeah,
it's always about something else. Yeah,
show and whatever when we talk about his kids, and I'll make fun of him about something, or like whatever other artists. Like you're kind of shooting the shit, talking about whatever, but like you quickly realize that like it's just cool to like, you know, be personal friends with these people. And every now and then I'll call in favors, right? Like I'll do a charity auction or something like that, and I'll say, hey, buds, like, can you guys do me a solid and shoot a clip of this or something like that so that we can help raise some money, like a call in the favors. And they're always the first people to be like, hell yeah, like, of course, right? Like, send it over. I'll do what we can, whatever. But yeah, I don't know, dude, it's a wild thing. Like it's
I've not got to that point yet where I've got anyone famous apart from like Chris Buck, maybe.
But Chris Buck is awesome. Like, dude, the advice I give to everybody is like, it's feel the dream stuff. Like,
yeah,
just keep doing good work. Again, like every pedal, like you never know where it might go, like where it might end up in the long term. Like, and if you do good work, people will recognize it, right?
Yeah.
Like people will latch on to like, oh, I can tell that somebody like took time and really made this the right way and really wanted this to end up in the hands of somebody that would love it or whatever. And right, good things happen. I don't know. I feel like I kind of came in at this like right time where like fuzz faces were kind of hot for a while, and I kind of fit in this space where it just kind of worked out, and like I went so hard on that. Like fuzz faces now, I feel like are kind of down a little bit. It still exists. It's still kind of popular, but I feel like Zonk machines and Mark Ones and stuff are kind of like rising to the surface a little bit.
I feel it by the amount of people ask.
People are asking for them because it's almost like everybody discovered the trick that was like hiding in plain sight for like 60 years. Like it seems like for a while everybody was like, "Oh wait, like it cleans up with your volume knob," and it's like, "Yeah, guys, like it always did." Like and it's almost like that one trick had like rallied this whole group of people to kind of like jump on the train. Where I feel like a Zonk machine now or like a Mark One.
Yeah.
Remember, like there are not many Mark Ones out there. Like
because it's harder to do.
And so like a guy like Mike or them that are making quality Mark Ones, like dude, there's plenty of people that when they talk to me, they're like, "Oh, I'm looking for a fuzz that does like this," and like I feel like a lot of people use the fuzz face as like this mysterious catch-all. Like they think that the fuzz face, for whatever reason, is a solution to all their problems. And a lot of times I'll be like, "Look, man, what you're describing to me sounds like a Mark One.
Yeah.
And you should hit up like these guys who make killer ones. Like, as much as I would love to sell you a fuzz face, like what you're asking for to me sounds more like Mark One. And like, if you trust my ear and what I hear, like, give that a go first."
That's the sensible thing to do, though, because if he bought one of your pedals, he would be unhappy with it because it's not the sound he's looking for. And then you get an unhappy customer who sells it on, and then maybe tells two of his friends, "Oh, I tried that. I weren't a fan." So you're better sending him where he's going to, ultimately end up.
It's the same way a lot of guys talk about fuzz face, and huge misconception that Mark 1.5 is just a fuzz face with two parts that are changed. Like,
sounds completely
on paper, yes, but again, I'm about to release a Mark 1.5, so like Mark 1.5 like is the cousin of the fuzz face. They are basically the same pedal, but like to me, in releasing the Mark 1.5, like it has to be germanium. It needs leakage. Like the biased voltages in a real one sit so drastically far away from where a fuzz face sits that like while it's the same like architecture, the pedals are drastically different.
Oh yeah.
It's just like saying
right. Like I feel like most people look at the schematic and take, "Hey, these two fuzz face transistors, like low leakage, whatever, and I'm just going to use a 47K and a 100." To me, you're just making a bad sounding fuzz face.
But do you not think that it's like someone saying that a basement and a plexi JTM 45, they're the same circuit? No. Well, they technically are, but you wouldn't say they're both basically the same amp.
100%. And like to me, a lot of people will message and they'll be like talking about something, and I'll be like, "I think you actually want Mark 1.5 and not fuzz face. Still cleans up, has the same kind of vibe, but like it's not about changing a 47K and a 100K pot and just if so facto, there you go, it's a Mark 1.5. Like,
it's not that easy."
Like they're different, and like so much of it is like time in the sandbox and like understanding what makes those pedals different. and how to like do a like proper representation of each. Because again, like schematics will fool you.
Oh,
The first thing I say about like Zonk machines is like if you look at the schematic of a Zonk machine, it basically looks like a Mark 1 with like a small input cap. And I find that like a lot of small builders, like a Zonk machine's a rare pedal. Not a lot of people have played a real one. And so a lot of people will look at the schematic and be like, okay, well, it's a Mark 1 with a small input cap. And they build a Mark 1 with a small input cap. And then it just
put it on a switch.
And then it just sounds like a funny Mark 1.
Yeah.
Whereas like the Zonk machine, or at least the real ones that I've played, they don't sound like overly fuzzy. They sound like a clean, almost like a clean boost, like a hollow, clean boost with like crackle around the attack of the note. Because that low input cap, A, doesn't have a lot of bass, so there's not a lot of information in the circuit, so to give it gain and distortion. And B, the transistor choices that they made, at least in the real ones that I've played, it's almost like they made all the wrong choices. Because like you'd look at, hey, here's the stage 1, like you need some leakage and stuff because it's a buffer. But it's like, oh, they used a transistor that didn't really have as much. And then, oh, second transistor, you can have leakage and all that, or like you don't need as much, but like, oh, they used one with a ton of it. And then like, it's almost like they made all the wrong choices. So the pedal is like really closed off and like funny sounding. And so like, you can make a Mark 1 with a small input cap, but it doesn't actually sound like the Zonk machine. You have to make a Zonk machine with transistors the way the Zonk was made. Then you can give it a small and big input cap, but like you're dealing with two architectures that are on paper very similar, but in practice they behave completely like opposite. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah, that makes total sense.
100%.
And like when people buy a pedal from builder, right?
Yeah.
Like these days, like small builder, here's my Zonk machine. It creates this weird dilution in the market where like
people think that
people are picking up and they're like, oh, this sounds like a Zonk machine. I was talking to a friend builder of mine the other day, and he's like, I'm building a Zonk machine to like specs that I'm talking to him about. And he's like, it's funny, it doesn't sound very like zonky to me. And I'll be like, I know, because like the waters have been murkied. Like everybody hears Zonk machine, they think of Doyle Bramhall, but like I'm the first person to be like, if you listen to Rich Man, and again, I only say I know because I had the actual pedal, but like it's an ecosystem. That pedal, pro reverb with whatever speakers are in it, loud. Mics, I can definitely hear the mics breaking up through the studio preamp on that. Like when I hear the tone, I hear more than just the amp in the room. I hear like Doyle Bramhall plays guitar upside down, and he's very choppy in the way that he picks because of it being upside down. He's hitting high strings before he hits low strings. The attack in the fuzz pedal of him hitting high before low changes the response of the pedal because it's not getting overloaded with bass right away. Like all of this plays into like the sound that you're getting, but people think like, oh, I bought my Zonk machine, I'm gonna throw it on the floor, I'm gonna push go, and I'm gonna have that tone, and it's like
that doesn't happen that way.
Doesn't work that way, right?
So that leads me into the question. Two questions really. First, do you think that maybe when they made the Zonk, they were playing through some sort of small amp, and so you're getting a lot of amp distortion, maybe overdrive, and that's why they tuned it the way they did? And secondly, do you have a go-to amp for testing pedals out when you're making them?
Zonk machine is like, I feel like all those pedals, like, I'll spin this a different way. Like, I'm making a pedal with an artist right now, and I've tried to, in designing the pedal, like we want it to be unique in its own way, keeping in mind like, you know, Kossoff drive and stuff, right? Like nothing's unique. Half the time you're looking at schematics of how the thing operates, but we're trying to embrace this philosophy that seemed to exist in the 60s where it's kind of new and fresh, and they're all kind of ripping each other off. Like, they're all doing the same thing, and it seems like they're arbitrarily just making their own little tweaks, whether it would be just so they could hand on heart say it's unique or it's not a direct copy, or like what came first, I don't know. But like Fuzzface made changes from Mark 1.5. I personally believe Mark 1.5 existed first, and somebody like Dallas Arbiter, who's concerned with making money and selling pedals, probably looked at the way that it was biased and said, "Nah, we'll just bias this colder so that it's more generally working with people, and we'll probably sell more of those." And so
they were actually cheaper, weren't they, as well?
100%, right? Like,
that's why Hendrix chose it.
Changes and like whatever. So like Zonk Machine, like I'd have to look at the lineage. I feel like the Mark 1 had to have come first.
Yeah.
John Hornby Skews making the Zonk Machine, like, did they just get a hand of a Mark 1 and said...
Well, I think they were in Leeds at the time, weren't they, John Hornby Skews? So I think the tone bender must have come from London, where all the music is. And then someone from that area has gone back to Leeds with this pedal and gone, look at this.
Because John Hornby Skews at the same time also had a treble booster, right? And they paired it in with the Zonk and the Shatterbox. And like, their treble booster is like slightly different than Dallas Arbiter, but like it's kind of the same. And like they're all kind of ripping each other off, like I said. And it's like, it feels like they're making changes that like, I don't subscribe to the fact that they're idiots. As in, like, I don't subscribe to that they're just monkeys like randomly doing stuff. Like, I think those guys were geniuses to be able to like pick general circuit applications from books and use technology that existed at the time and leverage it in a way to create sounds that had never been done before. So like, I think that they're making conscious choices. I mean, like Gary Hurston like invented the Vox AC30. Like, I mean, he obviously knew what he was doing.
He knew what he was doing. Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
So I don't know, right? It's a super interesting thing to talk about. Like, is it a conscious choice? Like,
also, it's what's available. Were they not saying, especially for someone like Gary Hurst, they're thinking, we're not just buying a couple of these transistors. They were looking at making lots and shipping them out. And so it's how many of each one can we get, you know?
Dude, I've gone on for hours and hours and hours about like NK2275. Like, NK2275 is popular and famous because of what it was used in and who ended up using it. If we go back in our DeLorean and we go back in time, they're not sitting there. Again, I try to tell people, like, remember. Like, they're not making guitar pedals, as in, like, they're not inventing transistors for the purpose of guitar pedals. They're saying, okay, what are our priorities? Like military applications and radios and telephones and whatever.
This germanium is affected by heat.
All these are crap. And you got Dallas Arbiter, who's like, dude, he's trying to make money. He's sitting there being like, what's the cheapest thing I can get that will work in this thing?
100%.
Oh, here's this offload. I'm not saying that the NKT275 is bad.
It's cheap.
It is what it is, and we associate the sound of it because of what made it famous.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that like it's the absolute best transistor in the world to go in a fuzz face. Again, it's like you start towing this line of like, is
but
it
I would pay more for one.
It is, or like, is it worth $400 a transistor? Like,
well,
dude,
it's worth what people pay.
You can make the sound for a lot less.
Some people care more about what's written on the side of the can than what it actually sounds like.
Those people, they are fools soon to be parted with their money.
Let me tell you, my boy, for his 16th birthday, all he wanted was this shit hooded t-shirt, hooded jumper thing. And the fucking hood had goggles in the front of it. Why do you need goggles in a hood? Who knows? And it was like £600. There's I'll remember the brand soon. Something company. Anyway. And he was like, I just want this jumper, like £600. You sure, son? Yeah, that's what I want. You're a fucking fool. Fine. But equally, if you said to me, here's a fuzz face with NKT275s in it, £600, please. I'm paying it. So
dude, I got, did I like, again, like, I don't want to, like, I'll show you in a second, but like, test rig, like, I have a 66 Stratocaster. very like Strat based typically. But I run through the gamut. Like I try to. Typically, I'm a Fender amp, Fender Strat guy, very much inspired by the Hendrix like type lineage. But I will like go through whether it be my full like I have a 410s with EVs and high powered speakers, and I can blow the roof off my house like smoke detectors are falling off the wall when I'm I can go from that extreme, like stuff that end users will probably never ever even use it in that type of application, to Yamaha THR practice amp serves a purpose. Like if I'm checking for noise, if I'm checking for whatever, like sometimes the digitalness of that practice amp is arguably better than a tube amp, because if it's going to inject like extra noise, that might serve the purpose that I'm working on. I've got like a Rev D25, which is very like flat, like it's very pedal platform amp. So it serves as a good kind of like first test of like, whatever. I do a lot of A/Bing if I'm like comparing one pedal to the other to try and like sonically match them. I've got a lot of like back and forth, because like to me, you got to back and forth it like quick. You can't like play one and unplug it and
no, you got to be side by side and just
I kind of want to pick up a Marshall. I might pick up one of those like PRS like Marshalls or something to kind of try and copy.
Well, like didn't they copy the Hendrix amp, the Plexi?
For Paul, $600 or something crazy.
This is so funny because I have some inside scoop on that, because Paul Reed Smith, he was doing some guitars for one of the places I was working at here in North Carolina called Dream Guitars, and he brought up one of my compatriots to go through his wood vault. And while he was there, they were talking about the Marshall amp project, and he said that after all their analysis and everything, that a lot of it was just random stuff that you can't reproduce. It was hit or miss, like what was going to show up at any time. And that they just got it to as close as they could and said, that's the best we can do. You're on your own. Like so much of it is up to whatever Q factors happen in that realm. And then bam, you can only get it.
I've heard so many like random Marshall amps, like where when I was gigging, like the JCM 800 was everybody wanted JCM 800, and I probably knew 4 or 5 different people that all picked up whatever era JCM 800, and some of them sounded kind of crap, and some of them sounded
kind of great.
Like they should, for all intents and purposes, like all be the same, right?
Yep.
For every single pedal I make, the amp that I go to is the V40. You try that? The Victory.
I've never played anything Victory.
Oh, mate, the V40. I've got the DP40, the purple one, but it's like the best pedal platform. Like every pedal's character is really pronounced, if that makes sense. So, and it's not one of them where it's like super clean or super dirty. It's like right in the middle.
My problem is that I'm a huge advocate for the like. I'm old school in the way that I like think of playing guitar. Like, turn your amp up, get your amp breaking up. Like, you hear me harp on it all the time. I even argue against like attenuators and stuff, because while an attenuator is an awesome tool, and believe me, I have them. I have like a power station and stuff like that. Like it all serves a purpose.
Yeah.
The attenuator will let you take your amp and turn it on 10 or whatever, and then reduce the volume. But I have to make a YouTube video or something, because the speaker hitting the volume pressure, like there is a threshold where the speaker is pushing enough air that you can hear it on the dial, where you're like, here's my loud amp through the speaker, low, and then, it's alive now.
And then you can feel it on stage too, if you're standing in front of it.
It completely changes. And I get it. People live in apartments. They can't even take their Princeton and get their speaker pushing that much air. But like, that is the sound of rock and roll. That is the sound of when I test fuzz pedals, like when I'm getting them ready to go, like you're testing transistors and I want to make sure these are a good pair. they are going through an amp that like my neighbors hate me because it's
My mom
air.
has to be outside of the house when
It
I
is
test at full volume because I'm going to
pushing
rattle
air.
things off the walls.
And it has to be like,
Yep.
again,
You don't get it
I'm not
otherwise.
saying you can't like use an overdrive pedal and simulate the
Oh, of
amp. And
course.
push. Like I went and saw Ariel Posen play, and he's got like a traditional clean on volume 2, and he's using a King Tone overdrive, and he's throwing a fuzz into it. It sounds awesome. It sounds huge and awesome. But like to me, it's simulated. Like I feel like my ear has been tuned to when I hear an overdrive pedal, it sounds fake.
Mhm.
Well, it technically is, isn't it?
100%, and it needs to sound like the amp driving. Like that's the sound that I like, and so everything that I build is like married up to joining that. And like I said, the sound pressure, like the speaker
Oh, it's a different thing, you know.
Yep.
pushing, is like I get a lot of people don't get there, but to me, if you're not going to get that, you might as well use a Spark or a
Yeah.
Max.
Yeah.
Like
That's what I miss about being on board, because at sea, no one's telling the chief to turn down. So I could go up in my own little compartment, turn it up, and people would be going past like, oh shit, he's back in there again. But no one could do anything about it. Whereas here, clearly my wife's in charge. So I'm never turning the amp up to that.
we've moved so far away from it. Like, look, when I was gigging in my band, not that it has to be the same, but like I was playing, 200-person clubs, and like I was gigging a like Bachner 412. Like, and was it loud? Yeah.
That's epic.
But was it awesome?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, and we weren't out of the normal. Like we were all doing
that was it. Yeah, man. Like,
and so like I feel like we've moved this like it's got to be quieter. It's got to be quieter. It's got to be quieter.
I can't
like,
stand seeing clubs go around with a dB meter and telling the band that they've got to turn down. Oh yeah, yeah. We've got these insane clubs now because they're afraid of being sued for hearing loss.
Everybody going into like I need my 20-watt amp, and then now it's I need my 15-watt and my 5 and like whatever. And like I keep trying to tell people, I'm like, dude, a 5-watt amp, if you crank it, is still fucking loud.
It's still loud.
But it feels different though. That's the thing.
Yeah, like
so and the problem is that even the 5-watt amp, like with its loudness, you start missing a trick because it's 5 watts. So like the compression and everything, the bass response is different. Like I'm sorry, but like a fuzz face through a like JTM whatever, like when it's dimed, like there is no better sound in the world. Like, and that amp needs to be like a 45, 50-watt amp. When you make it like collapse on itself, like that is the sound.
Yeah, I had a 100-watt Carvin that I used to play my stuff through, and that was the sound. I traded a little PV Rage for it because the guy wanted something he could play broken up in his house without driving his neighbors crazy. And he had this Carvin. He said, every time I get it above 2, I get the police called on me. So he said, I'll trade you this for that little amp. I was like, sure. So
I get guys message me all the time because it's a lot about Sonics, and they'll message and they'll say, I don't know, here's Hendrix at Winterland or whatever, and I'm looking for that tone. I'll be like, look, guys, like on paper, it's a fuzz face and a Marshall. A fuzz face is probably silicon. Like you can make all these deductions.
But then where were the mics placed in the acoustic layout? Oh.
And they'll be like, I can't, like, I play in an apartment and I can't play anything more than a Princeton on 2. And I'm harsh with them. I'll be like, then you can't get that sound.
No, you can't get that tone.
And they'll be like, but like, how can I? I'm like, no, guys. Like,
buy yourself some Wazza headphones, model the shit out of it. And then you'll get that sound.
Enjoy playing guitar with like a simulated. You don't need to spend $800 on a fancy germanium rare pedal and then plug it into your amp that you can't use proper. Like you're not
going to get the experience.
I'm doing myself as a service, but like you're not going to get the thing. It's never going to wake up. Like it. And again, I get it. But like,
there's
I would rather you
feedback
enjoy
through the speakers, through you, through the pedals to the amp and all that. It's an ecosystem, as you say.
I can imagine. I hear people talk about experience days all the time at TPS, And I guess you get a lot of people that are able to like finally, for the first time, hear what a deluxe reverb on 8 sounds like.
Like, let me tell you, that is fucking weird, because you're looking going, it's a deluxe reverb, cheers. And he put it on 3 and you're like, yeah, I've heard this 1,000 times. And then he puts it on 5 and you're like, well, this sounds pretty good. And then when he gets it all the way up there, it's like, you feel it's a weird experience. It's like that, the lower mid thump in your chest that you feel from a loud amp.
And you start,
and you're like, you're looking at this little box. There's all these big amps everywhere, and you're like, what the what is going on here? It's like no one normally experiences that. Well, no.
Yeah.
I mean,
nobody. I tell people all the time, like, take your deluxe reverb, put the treble on 10.
Yeah.
And people look at me like, what are you talking about? I can't be that bright. I'm like, no, you're missing the trick. Like, remember, all the EQs are reductive. Like, take that treble, put it on 10. It's going to give you more gain. Turn your reverb up because the reverb is going to give you more gain. But you've got to get the amp to the sound pressure level where the sound pressure will fill in the natural bass that you're lacking when it's on 2. If it's on 2 and your treble's on 10, it's going to be piercing.
Harsh.
But if you get it up, that natural bass will just fill in all the sweet spot in the bottom, and you'll just be like, what is this tone? Like, it sounds like like Raging Marshall. And it's like, yeah, man, like, that's...
It's a good mod to have a switch just to lift the EQ out of a Fender amp. Like,
when we were having that amp discussion and I chose the deluxe reverb, that's why the Blackface Deluxe is what he's describing, because I've used that in studios before, and man, when you get to that sweet spot,
that is it. That is a thing to consider, that in studios it's easier to record a good low volume amp than it is to record the big boom and
you gotta do so many things with your mic placement if you're like having like a full Marshall stack in a studio. A lot of times,
unless you're clapped and put your mic the other side of the room,
you start like being evangelized, where like someone like me has gone from like, dude, we've all been there. Like, we play guitar, we get into guitar, we start playing stuff, we discover pedals. I swear almost everybody that watches this feed, like at some point in time, will have had a pedal board that looked like a, Starship Enterprise command center, where they had like 60 overdrives and like every tonal option. Like, I was there.
I was a drummer, so
at some point you look at it and you start saying, I'm not even playing guitar. I'm looking for an excuse to step on something that I have. And like, do I really need all these tonal options? And then you start realizing that, like, if you can ever get to the space where you can take your amp and put it on 6,
you're done.
You don't need half that shit.
You don't need half that shit. Yeah.
3/4 of any. Like, I turn around, like, I need a tube screamer. I need something that gives me more.
Yeah, that's it.
The amp on its own is 80% of the tone, and I just need a little push.
That's the Joe Walsh Formula 101. He says you need a guitar, you need a good tube amp, and maybe a reverb. But you definitely need a good tube amp that you can crank up and get it to break up, and you need a good quality guitar with a either a good set of humbuckers or a good set of single coils, depending on which sound you're going for. He says, he said, if you need any more than that, then you're not playing. If you need any more than that,
learn to play your amp.
Learn to play first.
Learn to play your amp with your guitar on 8.
Yep.
90% of the time.
Yeah.
It's weird if you're used to having it on 10 all the time. But if you learn to throttle it back, and throttle back on 8 is like normal, you got a free pedal on those last 2 digits just hanging out to drive you into that extra push. Like,
but now we all know what Nigel Tufnell would say to that, right?
It's true. Doesn't go to 11.
Doesn't go to 11.
I love it. Oh man, I tell you what, I did notice that I've got a Gibson GA5T. Yeah, GA5T from 65, and that was my onboard amp for the longest time. But because it turn it up to full, and it sounds great, but it's like very, very overdriven. So I was playing with my guitar on like 4 most of the time just to get it clean, And
dude, when that's what all our heroes did.
Yeah,
100%. But it was like fighting with it constantly,
and that's the beauty of it too. I mean, it's one of my favorite quotes that Jack White, ever put out was like, playing guitar is a battle. You're in a fight with that thing, and it's that give and take that you're that beautiful dance that you're doing. you're giving it and it's fighting back. That's where the magic happens. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about playing. It's like, it's not a whole bunch of just like stuff that you can just do on repeat. It's different every time. And if you get it to where it's so sterile,
I'm not a musician. I don't.
Yeah,
we'll
make you one. We'll make you one yet, Joe. Don't worry.
I spent the longest time like trying to force myself to play more guitar and stuff. And I thought, why am I doing that? What I want to do is, I used to say, an hour of guitar, then you can start soldering. Like, fuck that. I'm just going to solder because that's what I like doing. So
you start getting to the point where like I don't play very much like personal guitar anymore. I don't have time. Like I'm playing guitar when I'm testing pedals.
Out.
I've quickly reverted into the same like 12 licks every time because like it's just become the like test. Sounds good. Okay. Like I know what that sounds like.
Right. Well, Sugar from ZZ Top is my little. I play that one lick and I'm like, right now I know how this pedal sounds. Next one. Because
I started using my pedal testing to make an excuse to have more personal playing times. Like, no, I have to play this. I have to know how it's going to sound in all these different tunings. And it's like, no, I really have to take 2 hours to try this out.
So John Pardo says he's got 19 pedals on a studio board, but if he was ever to play live, which he might, he reckons a fuzz boost drive, some sort of mod, a delay, and also maybe another 3 other fuzzers. Sounds like nice sort of board. The thing is, if you look at the Chris Buck when he was on TPS, he had like 5 or 4 maybe different blues breaker pedals all on his board, and he's clicking them on and off, and to me they sound exactly the same. And he says it makes me feel different when I play this one. And
so I get those guys. Like Joey Landreth is the same, where he always talks about like the pedal feels different to me, and it's challenging to me in a way where it feels different. So I'm challenged to play different. Will the audience member hear it? No, but like to me, it keeps it exciting for me on stage because I'm kind of like keeping it fresh all the time.
But then he's excited and interested, so he plays better.
I totally get that, but like I get that more in the sense if we're talking about Joey or Chris Buck or one of these guys that are monster players and they're looking for the diversity. If you're Joe Bedroom guy and you're trying to get through the lick to Back in Black, you don't need 15 blues breakers because they feel a little bit different.
But the editors of Insert Guitar Magazine name here wish that you really thought you did.
It is another angle to that though. So when I was like 12, probably before I discovered girls, sex and drugs, when I was about 12, I used to do a lot of biking, a lot of like BMX and stuff, and I was obsessed with it. But if I put a new sticker on my bike, I would ride it more. I do an extra 3 hours a day because that sticker was there. It motivated me. So I see buying another pedal as you're not buying a pedal because it sounds different. You're buying a pedal because it'll make you play guitar.
True.
So
I feel like
buy more pedals, folks.
I do feel like there's this weird limiting thing that happens with a lot of people though, where like it's this like I don't know if it's the Amazonification of things, but like people get excited about a pedal. And I don't think that they inherently think that like I'm going to be a different guitar player after I buy this pedal. Like it's going to be the solution to everything. I don't think anybody's that silly. But I think what people do is they buy their new pedal that they're excited for, and they almost use the transit time of that pedal as like an excuse to just, well, I'm just going to hang out and I'm going to wait till that pedal shows up, and then I'm going to plug it in and play it or whatever. And I always laugh. I'm like, you better be spending the 10 days that you're waiting for that pedal to show up to your door to like practice and like be on form to the point that you can like really do something with that pedal. But I feel like there's a lot of a mental block where people where they're like, okay, well, like I'll play guitar when my pedal shows up, so I'll just sit here and like wait.
They spend their time making a space to it on the board.
Yeah, right. They plan how they're going to change their layout, or they spend all their time like researching on the gear page or whatever. I tell people all the time, like if you spend as much time reading about stuff on the gear page as you did practicing, you'd probably be closer to the player that you want to be.
You and my friend James Condino like drop in on forums and say that to people all the time, apparently, because he says he loves to go on to one of the, it's like, rather than arguing about all this, if you guys just got off these forums and spent this time practicing, you'd get better. And then they all jump on him and he disappears. And he just like, have it amongst yourselves.
Again, like whatever, I get it, right? Like buying pedals is fun. Like trying new stuff is fun.
I buy pedals and barely use them. So like, I really want an electric Lightning from Thorpe just because I want one. I'm probably never going to use it.
I've never owned a Thorpe pedal, and I need to get one. Like,
so
Adrian and I share some like history. Like I did, I was doing like Joe is where we like come. Like I have a background in EO. I'm trained as a EOD tech.
Oh yeah.
So like I was doing like site remediation or old training ranges, doing like unexploded ordnance cleanup and stuff like that from old World War II.
Boy.
And so like I know Thorpe was doing a lot of that stuff too. And so like I feel like we have this like connection, and I like, can't believe I've never tried. Like I should buy a Dane or something like that. Like I'm sure it's awesome.
They're just so good. I bought a what was the Scarlet Tunic? I bought that in Norway when we were out there. It's just like, wow, Thorpe pedals, Norway. It's just, he's one of them builders like Analog Man or whatever. I can buy a pedal sight unseen and know it's going to sound good.
Oh yeah. What I think is funny is
not sound good. I'll like it because
you'll like it. Yeah. What I think is funny is people buy his pedals expecting it to do something that it wasn't designed to do, and then they're dissatisfied with it. It's like you didn't pay any attention to his demos or anything he said about it,
or the name of the pedal. Like
you just thought because it's one of his pedals, it's automatically going to make you sound like this person. It's like that's not how it works.
So Ruben Estrada says that he's never had that many pedals, but right now he's using a Rat, a chorus, and a reverb into a Blackstar HD40 or an AC30.
Yeah.
Mate, do you know what? I've never had an AC30, but I built a Trainwreck Rocket. Well, I built like 4 of them. So I've got one in front of me now, and it's just so loud. Like I started taking it to guitar shows, but the second, and I mean on next to no volume, anyone played it, because it's just designed to cut through. It's not particularly loud. It's just so aggressively stiff. As it's the filter. The first filter stage is like 120 microfarads, no, 80 microfarads, something like that. It's ridiculous. But the sound police would come over straight away and say, turn your amp down. The second anyone to plug into it, so I stopped taking it. But yeah, the AC30 is just, I never really got into it. I should do. And I think it might be the whole aesthetic thing. I'm looking at it and I think I want it to look like a Marshall. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's probably where I'm.
To me, AC30 like sounds awesome if it's in the like when you hear someone play one like not clean. It's like when it's breaking up, the clean chimey thing, but when it's like really breaking up and like pushed treble booster type stuff,
like when Brian May plays one,
it's wicked at that one thing, right? Like, but it's got to be in that right space. Same thing. I think a lot of when I was playing in bands and stuff, I know so many people went out and bought an AC30 and then like just never pushed it hard enough. It just sounded like shrill and stiff, and it was like, man, you're never getting this amp into the spot where it wants to be. Like that's your problem, right? Like I feel like that's the general theme, though, right? Is like you gotta
100%. Yeah, most people want a 5-watt amp. They just don't want a 5-watt amp.
I think we've done ourselves a disservice with like the history of music, right? Like if you think of the 60s and everything, like the loud amps were out of necessity for like lack of good PAs and stuff. And them pushing them to like get over like projected large venues and things like that. And the byproduct of that is awesome like distortion and stuff that we then like now hear and love and like want to recreate, but like we almost can't do it because we're not in the conditions that they were in. Like it's this weird like we turn to pedals to try and simulate it, but I'm sorry, but any like Marshall in a box is never going to sound like a Marshall.
No. I hate that amp in a box thing. Even my Kossoff driver, it's really hard to explain to people what it is unless you say it's kind of like my amp in a box, but it's nothing like an amp. It doesn't sound like an amp. It doesn't. The only thing I can say is it will clean up with your guitar's volume, and if you're digging hard, the notes will like have more presence and treble and spit out at you more if you dig in. That is what I mean when I say it's like amp people don't understand it's not that. You couldn't plug that into the power amp and get some sound out of it. The level coming out of it's nowhere near what you need. Have you tried the
fair,
Kingsley? Have you tried the Kingsley stuff? Yeah.
I've tried oh man, what have I tried? I can never remember the names. I tried Juggler.
The Juggler, yeah.
Which is like or is it Constable? One of them is like the
Constable's
Marshall.
the Marshall. That's the Constable.
Yeah, so I tried that. It's sick.
Yeah. I've got a Maiden D. So
the Dumble preamp one, Maiden, the turquoise one.
Yeah, that one.
That one.
Oh yeah.
And there's one with only a couple knobs, I think. Is it still Maiden? I don't know.
Yeah, it's Maiden.
Same color.
There's the Maiden. That's the first one with only one foot switch, and then they did another one with the EQ lift on a foot switch. I think it is, or something like that. But
he makes really amazing stuff.
Into the so I've got a Tweed Deluxe. Well, it's a Filmo sound, but it's a Tweed Deluxe where I converted it, but I also put a power amp in on it so I can use that straight in the power amp. So it's like a 15-watt power amp. That's the key, I think.
I've got I've got a 385 Filmo sound that Buddy made for me, like Blake Mills. So he's got it in an old military ammo can.
Oh, sweet.
Ones. Yeah.
It
so good.
Sounds so killer. It's like, it's kind of like a Tweed Deluxe. Kind of has some of that thing, but it also kind of has some of this like voxiness to it. I've been on the speaker hunt where like I think I want to buy like a Jensen like 12Q or something like that with like really low sensitivity, so I can just get it like break it up like crazy.
Someone was saying that in the chat, so I've got him. Mine is actually a Tweed Deluxe because I gutted it and built a Dumble Tweedledee in a.
Sick. Oh, was that like I heard Kenny Wayne Shepherd play one recently, and it sounded so good.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thing is he's more power filtering, but he also splits the preamp. So like you'll have one filter section controlling both halves of the the phase, both halves of the first tube. Sorry. Well, he splits it so there's like a 10 microfarad either side. So when you're increasing the second channel, it doesn't increase the gain on the first channel like a normal Tweed Deluxe. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. So mate, Tweedledee is, and there's some feedback stuff in there to stop blocking distortion and stuff like that.
Oh, cool.
It's interesting, but that paired with an Alnico speaker, like I think I've got a Weber in that at the minute. So good.
Because like I'm so down this like rabbit hole of like I'm so past like more traditional speakers. Like, dude, what do I have downstairs? My cabs are I have a 410 cab with JBLs, E110s.
Mm-hmm.
I got 212
I've got a
EVs.
Cab with one in now.
212 EVs. I have some like Altec 417Hs. It's all like high powered speakers. It's all.
Aren't they like the Grateful Dead speakers, the Altec ones?
That was EV, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think he used some Altecs, but like Grateful Dead and stuff is like, if you think about me, like I'm not using those speakers in like clean land. Like I'm using them with like Fender amps that are like on blow the roof off the house. I'm telling you, man, let it be known, 410 cabinet is the shit.
It is.
Nothing will touch it.
A super magic, super 410.
It is absolute magic. Every time I think about how ridiculous this is, dude, 410 with JBLs, like it's got to weigh 100 pounds. Mm-hmm. And like every time I'm like, this cab is ridiculous. Like I need to get rid of it. I always I'll just plug into it today, whatever. And I plug in and turn it up, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, like this is absolute magic.
I've got a Bareface. Have you heard of Bareface cabs?
They're small, but they project like crazy, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I've got one of them with an E110 in it, and that's my guitar show speaker. And people are there with their big amps and the 412s testing out amps, and then they look over at my amp, absolutely drowning them all out. There's this little tiny 110 speaker. Like, what the fuck is going on there? See people looking over like, what is that? It's a JBL E110. Unbelievable.
Dude,
it's my favorite
speaker. Are like, honestly, I'm gonna say right now, like I love EVs. They're very like flat and neutral. But JBLs, I think, get a bad rap. Everybody is like, oh, there's too much like top end or whatever. If you are able to actually push the JBL, it does this like papery distortion gain thing that like when you manage to push it, like having grown up on like Stevie and stuff, you're like, that is the Elma combo. Like that is the sound. It's got to be pushed.
I think mine's been reconed. It's an old one, but I think it might have
Does it have the aluminum dome on it?
Yeah, it does have the aluminum dome, but I'm assuming the actual the whole thing looks brand new. That part of it, so I'm assuming it's been. But
I have
impossibly heavy though.
Joe, I have a terrible obsession. I like collect them. I've got like boxes of like EV10s, and like anytime they come up, I'm like, ooh, I gotta get that. And I'm like, why? I'm not even putting it in anything, but just because it's like special and rare, I like have to have it.
I had to buy two because I think I only paid $80 for the pair of them.
Oh, that's Robert.
Insane. But it was like, I don't know, 8 years ago. But I wanted one, and I said to the guy, look, I'll pay $80, just send me one, save on shipping. And he was like, no. So he sent me two, and I ended up giving one to Reese. I don't know if you know him, like young lad who plays over this side. He's plays with Buddy Guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I passed one off to him just because it was like literally in the way. Yeah, but so good. They're very heavy.
Amazing. But I have to go deep down into other like I've gotten really into this like Delta Blues, Junior Kimbrough type stuff.
Oh man, I know Cal.
And I keep looking for like old Jensens and stuff that will just break up immediately and give me some of that speaker distortion. And I keep wanting to pair one with the projector amp that I have.
What size speakers in it at the minute? Have you got or is it just the head?
It's just the head. I've got it like variety of cabs or whatever. But I keep meaning to buy just like a 112 like lacquered tweed, basically like a Tweed Deluxe, but just the cab. So and just load it with some vintagey speaker that will just fucking collapse so that I can slam it with a fuzz or something like that and just have it like kind of do the Tweed Deluxe thing where it's just breaking up and nasty.
Yeah, Junior Kimbrough's. I got to see him live a few times.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Yeah, man. I mean, the Eye Scratchers and Ball Kickers would tour around with the Fat Possum Records crew, and he was on. Got to see people like T-Bone, or not T-Bone, T-Model Ford. Who was the guy? R.L. Burnside. That guy. Wow. Talk about.
I've gotten like so into that. Like we were talking about JD Simon.
Man, I can get you in touch. I can get you in touch with Junior's grandson if you want, and you can get some insight from him. Yeah, he lives in the area of North Carolina.
Like, absolutely fall in love with that shit. Like, it's
man.
Like swampy and dirty, and
you would want to be at the festival that's coming up at the end of the month here, because that's where you're going to find all of that kind of stuff in the blues section of that
stuff.
The Carolina blues stuff and the Piedmont blues. Then you get into the the Delta Mississippi area and the Chicago stuff. They all converge. And a lot of it has to do with Roy Bookbinder. Like he kind of put this whole, and Happy Traum, those guys, they all kind of put the blues side of the thing together.
So I've fallen in love with it, and I feel like working on pedals, trying to like come up with something that really like helps capture that sound. Like I always think about like Junior and them, and I try to think of like the modern equivalent, and I think of like some of the Black Keys stuff and some of those guys who've been able to like take some of that swampiness and kind of modernize it a little bit. Like I said, JD does like a great job kind of like embracing that kind of like dirty. I keep being like, I need the pedal that is like that in a box, right? Like it's not exactly fuzz face.
Yeah. I think the problem is you just need the amp. You need it. I really want a little Walter. There's one for sale here ahead. So it's like a 30 watt with two 6L6s Tweed Deluxe.
You want to get some of that Black Keys sound in the studio? Use a little Smoky amp. That was their secret weapon in the studio.
Using, was it?
LM386, right into the board.
I've never even heard of that.
You've never heard of
Well,
a Little Smoky, the cigarette amp? It's basically like this
the noisy
one,
cricket and all of
yeah,
that.
yeah. The Little Smoky was just like the very first version of it. It had no gain, no volume. You just in and out, ran off a 9-volt battery.
Is it like the Dan Electro like thing?
Oh no,
Yeah.
it's even simpler. It fit inside of a cigarette pack.
There's a tag board layout for the one that I make with it's like 10 tags or something.
Yeah, that was their studio trick, man.
Awesome,
What you think you're hearing like coming out of a huge stack? It's a LM386 chip going straight into the
so
board.
like dudes, like I said, we're off on a tangent, but like talking about the stuff earlier and like trying to capture some of that, like it's not fuzz facey, but it kind of is, and it's that broken amp delta sound. And I keep thinking about like
386s are where it's at.
I keep thinking about like, should I take one of those circuits or like a console circuit or something and just drive the shit out of it and make it fuzz?
Do it.
Right?
Yeah.
And find a way to like, turn that into what I'm looking for.
That's the circuit.
Sick. Is it?
So I drop them in. So I take these and take all the transistors out of them and stuff.
This is the same circuit in a pedal form, basically. This is I think this one is the Grace overdrive that was on Runoff Groove.
Cool. There's like a
and then there's also
is it Carlsbro? There's a Carlsbro pedal called the Fuzz, which used to be the like gain circuit.
It uses a 741, yeah.
And it kind of does what I'm talking about, but it's almost like not blown out and gainy enough.
Yeah, it's the 386 does it better. The 741's too clean. That's why the Carlsbro Fuzz doesn't do it well enough.
John, I'm going to send you a message.
the problem.
This is John's favorite circuit.
Now, the problem with the 386 is it is hard as hell to tame with the RF frequencies and everything else. You got to shield it like you mean it, or you'll be picking up the Mexican radio stations. So,
interesting.
Yeah, or you'll be picking up the Soviet transmissions from over, either side, whichever way.
Oh wow.
That's what I'm after, man. That's what I'm on the search. Like I'm
man, we need to talk. And unfortunately, guys, my battery just showed me that I am down to like it's gonna cut me off here pretty soon. So
mate, this has been one of our longer podcasts. Again, I always say this. I feel like I'm just talking gear. I was like, we've gone so far off topic.
Oh, but we're still on topic. We're still on topic. It's just it's such a broad topic. That's what's so cool, man. It's such a broad topic. We can do this forever, like you said.
I think what we need to do is when we have like a special episode come up, maybe number 50 or something, we'll have like an all-stars where we get like yourself, Mike from Seeker, potentially Brian Wampler. I mean, he did say he would come back and do like a big episode, big talk through. I feel like this is only like part one. We got another.
Oh yeah, we got
3 hours.
We do
of talk to do, but at this point, I think we're knocking on the door of calling it a day. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Massive thank you, Adam, for coming on, and you definitely need to come back, mate.
Oh yeah, man.
Especially when you have the next couple of product releases, or maybe when you come to the UK, that'd be a good time to.
It'd be crazy
to do it, but
or just anytime. Actually, maybe you should come on again when Joe isn't going to be able to come on.
Oh, yeah,
we have some of the we're going to have a podcast that Joe's not going to be available for, and we're trying to like maybe get a group of people together to give him a good roasting while he's not on the air. So he can listen to it on the train.
I'm in for a man it up right on the day that that's going on. But anyway, I've been Halo Sailor Joe. Thank you for tuning in.
I've been John Mulholland from Space Wolf Effects. Thanks you again.
I've been Aaron from Dominion.